Welcome to Whitty Analysis of Feature Films and Light Entertainment Podcast. My name's Billy.
And I'm the one they call Sean.
We are back. This is episode 3. We've done 2 of these. Thank you for listening if you are still listening. And if you're not listening, start listening.
Yeah.
Just put it on. What to do is, we really need people to listen to this or download it. So just download it and then that's fine. Or go on. Just go on to it, press play, turn the volume right down on your device and just let it run through so that we get the listen. We don't really care if you're actually listening.
We just want the stuff.
but if you do listen to it, get in touch and tell us what you like, what you don't like. And we're now everywhere pretty much, I think. We're on Spotify, We're on most places you get your podcast, apart from Apple. We're still trying to crack that nut. But we're on YouTube, so we're also on wherever you're listening to this. So wherever you found us, hello, thanks for coming. Come in, sit down, and buckle up because we've got a big one coming.
We have.
This week, we have got film review section. We're going to do Hamilton. It is a film because it's been nominated for Golden Globes, so it's definitely a film.
Technicalities.
Absolutely. We've got episodes 5 and 6 of Snowpiercer and a continuation of looking at that. We're doing Batman and Robin, the 1997 one, and then we've got some tips at the end of that, and I think that's it. We've got tips from last week that we're going to review.
We have.
So that's us. How are you, Sean?
I'm not too shabby. A bit tired. Finished work not long ago, but I'm ready and raring to go. How are you?
I'm great. Podcasting. It invigorates you. It's good for the soul. Whatever.
You know what? It is a bit of therapy, to be honest.
It is, yeah. I mean, we've been talking for about an hour so far already.
Yeah.
Just general chit chat, and now we're going to get on to talking for, hopefully, at least another hour. If it's anything like last time, a couple of hours.
Yeah, knowing us, it'll be like an epic. It'll be like 3 hours. It'll be The Irishman.
So this week, Sean, we are sponsored by
Paperclips.
Paperclips. Oh, you know that feeling? You know that feeling when you've just got stacks and stacks of paper and you're like, oh, there's nothing on this. It's just paper for the printer. But I wish there was something to bind it with. And you're like, oh, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to get some Paperclips. That's the best fastener. All your other fasteners can fuck off. What, you got those little toggle things that you have to put holes in your paper for. You're going to damage your paper to get them through. You know what I mean? The little stringy toggly things. Yeah. Fuck them. You know, what else? Those binder sleeve things, those little sort of, the twirly things that you've got to feed through every single sheet of paper. Staplers, putting holes in things. You realise you've got the bottom bit the wrong way around, so it flays out at the bottom. You're like, well, that's fucked, isn't it?
or it's upside down and you can't. Yeah. You just have to just make a mess.
Absolutely. A nice, simple paperclip is all you need to bind all of your really important documents together. That's essentially it. And it's got so many other uses. If your keyring fucks up, just unwind a paperclip, wind it round your keys. It's a keyring. It's just wire. It's made of metal. It's so solid. It's strong yet flexible, just like me. And Sean's stronger and way more flexible than me. Supple, you might even say.
It depends what day you find me on.
Take our advice. Buy paperclips. Use our discount code. Fucking fuck those toggle things. Which that's all one word, no spaces. Fucking fuck those toggle things. And get 20% off paperclips in your local stationery store. Don't be stationary. Move forward and buy paperclips. So yeah, buy paperclips. That's our ad. We're sponsored by paperclips. Just to be clear, we're not. We wish we were. If we wanted to be sponsored by anything, it would either be carpet sofa or paperclips, but fuck those little toggle things.
Hashtag
fuck those toggle things. And the swearing in this, by the way.
We
always put it in the show notes, and we think it goes everywhere. And everywhere that we've listed podcasts, we've got marked explicit content. But just in case, we want to mention it up top. Fuck.
Warning, contains fuck.
And if you don't like swearing, then fucking tell us.
Fuck off.
Come and complain. Write in. Email in.
Carrier pigeon.
Oh yeah, put a paperclip to a parrot carrier pigeon and write a letter.
Was carrier pigeons the original Twitter?
I think is that why Twitter's called Twitter?
Or was that cooing? The pigeons coo. Is that the
Yeah,
sound?
maybe. I don't know.
Anyway.
Get some paper clips and some pigeons just to be on the safe side.
Do not paperclip a pigeon, though.
Don't do that. Sorry, yeah, hi, yeah.
That's not nice.
Well, yeah, don't.
Depends what the pigeon calls you, really.
Yeah, they're always so fucking aggro,
Yeah,
coming at you,
they're
just
asking for
nodding
a
at
fight,
you.
aren't they?
Yeah, they're always
They
coming
just walk
at you
around going,
with
"What?
the faces
What do you want?"
like coming. I mean, no one can see this. We look ridiculous now. Just so you know, me and Sean are both doing the head thing that pigeons do.
Yeah, they kind of like push their tits forward and then they pop their heads. It's like they're walking around just going, "What? Fucking what?"
I think we're suitably warmed up now. Should we dive into Hamilton, shall we?
From swearing pigeons to culture. Here we go.
Here we go. Next section. Okay, welcome to the film review section. And as you might have heard on last week's podcast, I keep saying last week, it's every 2 weeks we do these. So don't be expecting something next week. Last week, which was 2 weeks ago, we decided that we were going to do Hamilton. It is a film. It's been nominated for Golden Globes, which means if that continues, Lin-Manuel Miranda could get his EGOT.
He could. He could. Has he got his Oscar?
No, it's his Oscar that I mean.
Oh, yeah,
So he doesn't yet have an Oscar.
Oh,
I reckon he should have
that's
had one for where the. Did he write Where the Lost Things Are in Mary Poppins?
Did he write it?
I'm sure he wrote Mary Poppins music. It might have been a collaboration though.
Yeah,
So,
but
yeah.
even Moana, he did Moana. I think Moana deserves something.
Aye. He'll get one anyway. We don't need to worry about him. He's going to be fine.
one day. He's got a Pulitzer. You know, he's doing all right.
So, Alexander Hamilton, quick synopsis then. It's about the life of Alexander Hamilton and his contributing to the American Constitution as one of the founding fathers against the backdrop of the American American War of Independence, which is pretty much all we need to know, isn't it? It's that's all it is. But don't be put off by this.
That's the thing. If you say the synopsis and you're kind of like, all right,
Yeah.
okay, that sounds political. You add a bit of hip hop and rap
Yeah.
in a multicultural cast. You stick it on the stage, you got gold.
You know, there's rap battles in this.
That was the best because when I listened to the album when it came out years ago, and it didn't quite make sense. But when I watched it, I was like, "That's awesome! That is so clever." The way they use the rap battles.
It is really clever the way they use everything in this, I think. And we'll go through some general thoughts, non-spoilers, but we probably need to just get into spoilers quite quickly because it's history generally. Yeah. It's dramatized, so some stuff's made up. But, you know, you don't want to have this spoiled for you, but in the same token, they spoil it for you in the opening song.
Yeah. And I'm the damn fool that shot him.
Exactly. So yeah, so just general thoughts from me about this then. It's really good. I love it. And I wasn't expecting to. You know, one of those things where you get the hype and it's, you know, people are selling tickets for thousands of dollars online and all this sort of stuff. And I'm like, oh, this is never going to live up to it. You go in with the expectation that it can't live up to the hype because the hype is so big. And then for me, it's better than that.
Yeah. Well, I first heard about it because I was a fan of Lin-Manuel Miranda. A couple of years before he did Hamilton, he did a musical called In the Heights. And in terms of music, it's the same style. Even some of the cast are the same. And it's directed by the same guy, produced by the same people. But it's modern and it's set in New York City. There's actually a film coming out of it. It was meant to come out last year,
right?
But because of COVID, it stars the guy who plays his son in Hamilton, the film. Anthony Ramos, I think his name is. He's in the Heights. Anyway, so I was aware of Lin-Manuel Miranda because of that, and In the Heights did the same thing. Didn't quite get the, pardon the pun, the height of the success and the sort of legacy that Hamilton's got. But it was popular and it won most of the Tonys. It did everything that pretty much Hamilton's got. And then, but when I heard because I think Lin-Manuel Miranda then did the music for the theatre version of the film Bring It On.
Okay.
And then I was like, I'm not really interested in that. And then I found out he was doing this thing about Alexander Hamilton. And I was like, right. And then, but it's going to be using hip hop. I was like, that's not going to work. What? Okay, well, we'll find out. We'll find out how it is. And then I heard all the rage that came out, like positive rage, people raging for it. And all I was like, oh, it must be all right then. It's whatever it's doing, it's working. I still didn't get the concept. Putting that sort of music in that sort of setting, but they're keeping the way it looks on the stage, the costume, all sort of pretty much on par for the time. And I did like how they used a cast of like pretty much every character who's white in real life wasn't white or Caucasian.
I like how they played with that though, because they played with that in the respect that they played on the immigrant side of things, in that everyone's an immigrant into America, because they were all immigrants at that time. There's even that line that immigrants, we get the job done. Like that. High five and bam. And that's it. I mean, it's founded as a nation of immigrants and things like that. And it was so topical when it came out at that time. Well, really brilliant.
Yeah, definitely. Long story short, it works. And I think it's just genius, because one thing that I got from it straight away was, because I'm not the most politically minded person, like politics confuses me, but it makes you get it. It's in a way that you think it's going to be politics. I don't want to watch this, but then it's so fun. They make it.
They make it fun. Like politics is life. There's that line where you want to run the treasurer of the State Department. It's like Treasury, let's go. And all you need to know about that is that's money. Yeah. So I mean, you mentioned as well. Like I was going to bring it up. Sets and costumes. You know, they're all sort of a period style and things like that. And one thing I noted down in my notes was you take loads of that for granted because it's just so well done and seamless. You know, everything works well. The choreography in this is absolutely fantastic. They do battle scenes to the tune of hip hop, and it's all the action is acted out on stage. But you know, they've got armies marching. The lighting's fantastic, but you don't think about any of that when you're watching it because you're just too enraptured and you're just enjoying it. Like I was smiling when I first started watching this, and like we've just discussed before we came on here, I've probably seen this about 15 times, and I've become a complete Hamilton stan, like everyone who's ever gone to see Hamilton now is. And you don't get it when people are telling you about it. You know, it's a political thing, and it's hip hop. You're like, I don't really hip hop, whatever, and. Like you said, politics, not really for me. And then you go into it and you're like, well, why didn't you say it was this? And then you realise now when you start doing a podcast about it, because there is no way of saying what it is. You just have to watch it.
Exactly. I mean, because I'm interested in it because I love history. History fascinates me. And so from that aspect of it, I'm in. I like history. I've even watched like a documentary about the same kind of thing, but like a legit sort of documentary. And if it was a film, a non-musical film version, I'd probably, I'd be in, depending on obviously how he did it. I'd be interested. But to me, because theatre, that kind of, I've seen some theatre like that, and it's slow and it's a bit boring, and it's very difficult to sit there for a couple of hours, whatever it is. But I like musicals, so sticking music on it, yeah, okay, I'm in. So it's all those elements together, in a sense, shouldn't work. But you've got to trust in the genius that is Lin-Manuel Miranda, and then the people he's got around him. Because you mentioned the choreography. The choreographer was the guy from In the Heights as well, I think. And they do it in a way that it keeps you in. And the music, I don't really listen to that kind of music outside of Hamilton. It's not really In the Heights. But maybe I should, because I like both of those musicals, but it's done in a way that keeps you interested, and it's fun. And that's what theatre's got to be. It can't be educational, it can't be political, it can be anything you want, but it's got to be fun and engagement. It's got to make you sit there for those 2 hours and not move.
And I was thinking when I watched it through this time, because, I've watched it loads. When I watched it through this time, I thought, it kind of reminds me, what they've done really well with the film version is they sort of drag you straight in. The Disney castle at the start has guns going off in a sort of hip-hop beat, which sort of brings you straight into that. And then you've got, the sets and things like that. The way they filmed it, they've taken the best angles of everything. You see people's faces, you've got close-ups of them. But you see, everything on stage has to be a bit bigger and a bit showy. But you can still see what everyone's doing with their faces and things like that. And for me, it just reminded me about why you like to go and see live theatre. It sort of makes your heart a bit sad just now because you can't see or do any of that. But it makes it feel alive. It's that tactile thing that you get from being, a couple of feet away from the actual performers who they're well rehearsed and they're going to do a good job. But there's always that thing with me, like, it could all go horribly wrong. What if they forget a line?
Oh, I don't want to make this about me, but I've done that. Obviously, as I mentioned, I think it was in the first episode, I studied acting, and I've messed up a few times on stage.
Right.
Instead of saying sitting on a throne, I said shitting on a throne. And not only was it in theatre, it was in the round, so the audience, the cast were sitting in front of the audience, who were like maybe 6 feet away from me. And I could just see all the rest of the cast just quietly like shaking because they were giggling, trying not to laugh, and I had to try and keep going. And that's what makes it fun though, because I've seen a couple of, like, I saw somebody fall once on stage, and as much as it was funny, I didn't laugh because I was into what was happening on stage and the performance that was happening. I was there, and I think it was a Shakespeare thing. And it's sad because in a way it shouldn't work. This, like, a recording of a theatre show on TV it shouldn't work. But I've watched a fair few because living where I am, and like, obviously theatre is expensive. As much as I studied acting, I don't get to see as much theatre as I'd like to. But I've watched things like legitimately recorded for DVD or whatever, and I've watched it. And I even, like, I was signed on to the National Theatre thing to watch like theatre from home over the lockdown, and I watched Warhorse,
right.
And it's amazing, but it's not as good as I wanted it to be. But it won't, because I'm watching it on my laptop, and I wasn't watching Warhorse, the puppetry and stuff. You have to watch that live. It's as simple as that. And Hamilton, as much as I love it, I know for a fact when I get to see it live, I'll probably love it even more.
Yeah, that's one thing I've thought as well when I've been watching this. I thought, because I deliberately didn't listen to the soundtrack before, because I kind of wanted to go and see it because of all the hype. I'm like, well, I don't want to know anything of it. I want to just go into here completely blind, and I did. And when it came on Disney Plus, I'm like, I can't not do this. I can't not watch it. So this is happening now. I'm definitely going in, and they do it so well.
I like how they use the casting, how the some actors obviously double up in the roles they play, but they mirror each other. The roles they play.
You've got, like, so David Diggs,
in a sense, 'cause,
comes in as Lafayette in the beginning, and then he's Thomas Jefferson in the second half. Like, yeah,
and steals it as Thomas Jefferson.
What did I miss?
And I can't remember the actor's name. I can't pronounce the actor's name, but he played Hercules, Mulligan, and
I can't remember. He's like the
Madison.
Oh yes,
James Madison. I like how he's brash and like a lad as Hercules Mulligan, and then just prim and proper as Madison. And obviously, in Anthony Ramos, who plays Lawrence and Hamilton's son. Yeah. There's a mirror, because again we'll just have to go straight.
Let's do it. So so let's just say, look, Hamilton's amazing. If you've heard the hype, it's not, that's not enough. And also, if you think you're not going to like it because it's hip hop, or you think you're not going to like it because it's politics, or you don't like musicals, then that's me, and I fucking love this thing. So no preconceptions. Just give it a bash. Give it 20 minutes, because if you're not into it by 20 minutes, that's not for you. I'd say.
Yeah, then you're not going to like it. But,
spoilers.
So spoilers now. Yeah. So Anthony Ramos's characters both die, and they both have obviously a connection to Hamilton, obviously, because one's his son, one's his friend, and they die for a cause, in a sense. In a sense, his son does. But it obviously the mirrors how the both characters, like, each sets of those characters bounce off each other, and even to a sense, one of the sisters, the actress doubles up.
And Peggy.
And Peggy.
She's brilliant.
But then again, it's just, even though there's when people double up the characters, there's a sort of mirror between them, and the kind of, it works because they don't have to be on the stage at the same time. But the actors, they make them so distinct and so different. And I've played multiple characters on stage before, and it's hard to get that. I had to play two characters in a Shakespeare thing who were pretty much the same kind of people. They were both sort of like lords, and it was so hard to try and find something that's different.
Yeah, because you're still the same person at the end of the day.
Yeah, either way, you're going to bring some of yourself to it, because you are.
And it must be difficult, because you've got to get the audience to buy into your character in the first instance, and then once they've bought into that, you've then got to say, right,
someone else
now someone else now. Well, like you say, especially David Diggs' characters, the Lafayette and the Thomas Jefferson, that just sort of ramps up his French in the first, so it changes the accent and stuff. But I was going to say as well, I have a different favourite every time I watch it. sometimes it's is it Philippa Sue who plays Eliza?
Yes.
Yeah, it's often her. But this time it was Leslie Odom Jr. who plays Aaron Burr.
Yeah.
I've never, he's sort of your antagonist. But I wrote down on my notes that it sort of it avoids a lot of the tropes of, your standard musical. It doesn't have a buffoon and it doesn't have an antagonist. And then I remembered, it does. It's got King George. Yeah. It's got Aaron Burr.
but you know what it is though, King George. That should not work. Again, it's something else in Hamilton that shouldn't work because he's so far removed. And I get why he has to be in it. He's integral to the story.
Yeah.
But the way Jonathan Groff, I think Daveed Diggs steals it as Thomas Jefferson, but you can't say Jonathan Groff doesn't steal it when he comes on as King George.
Well, I mean, he gets the loudest applause every time, doesn't he?
All 3 times he plays it. I mean, yeah, he was nominated for a Tony for that, even though he's on stage for all of maybe 5 minutes. I don't think he won it, but the actor in the British version, he won the Olivier for playing King George.
All right.
And again, he's only on it for about 5 minutes.
Because that's one thing I was going to say, because obviously it's moved on. That's the original cast that we see in this version that's on Disney Plus. But if there's any negative I have with it, there's a bit of slack in the middle for me, but also, say middle, sort of near the third act. But also, Lin-Manuel Miranda, he's amazing, right? He's brilliant. But I don't think he's a good enough... Of course, he's good enough. But I don't think he's the best actor to carry this whole thing on his shoulders. I think you could have another actor in that lead role, and that would elevate this even further. And I already love this and will die on the hill of Hamilton.
All the reviews I read about when it first came out pretty much said the same thing. Mm-hmm. And you know what it is, right? He's an amazing performer, and he's a good actor. I liked him in the new Mary Poppins. Yeah.
He brings a really good lightness to it at some points as well. I'm sure I wrote some things down, but just the jokey things when he's dancing and trying to impress. Yeah. I mean, I just danced there, listeners, to show Sean what I meant. But it's that bit, isn't it?
Yeah, you say dancing very loosely. We'll call that dancing. But that stuff. Yeah, I think it's with the emotional stuff. I don't like to. I'm not I don't act. I studied acting. I'm not an actor. So there you go. That shows how good I am. But
oh yeah, and he's better than me at everything.
Yeah. So I don't like to knock it. But yeah, it's the emotional bit. I don't think that hits.
But it's okay because he's got enough. The company around him helps. Yeah. Philippa Sue, who plays Eliza, she does all the heavy lifting. Good. In a lot of the heavy lifting in It's Quiet Uptown, and the end, man. And that crushes me every time. And it's just that little, you can see he's trying, but her little hand gesture, she takes his hand, crushes like that. My heart breaks then, and
she doesn't even look at him.
No,
she just keeps looking forward.
Totally deadpan face, hi. And then when you get the forgiveness lines coming in the back, that chills up my spine. And she just leans in ever so slightly to him with an arm around him. And I'm tearing up now. Just thinking about it. So it's okay that he's not the best he's not, the best actor in the world at that, because he's created all of this. He's wrote all of this music. He's put together this amazing company to support him through it. And it works better than probably any other musical I've ever seen. Yeah,
because that's the thing that when he did In the Heights, he was the lead in that as well. And I think I could be wrong here, but I don't think I am. So in the Heights, he had because obviously when in theatre you'll have understudies, but he had an alternative. So I think pretty much guaranteed, because obviously Lin-Manuel Miranda would be doing press and everything else for it.
Yeah.
So I think an understudy is there if you need them. An alternative is guaranteed to be playing the role a couple of shows. I think that's what it is. And he had the same guy, I think, for this as he did for In the Heights. I think his surname's Munoz, but I cannot remember the guy's first name. Because he's written it and everything. Obviously he wants to perform, and that's fine. If you can do it, and he can do it.
He's still a million times better than I would ever be at acting and singing. I can't sing.
Well, because I think, again, and not that he gets away with it, but because he's so good at rapping and the hip hop style of music and that he's so good at that, and a lot of it it's needed in this performance,
Mm-hmm.
and he can do that. And the fact he can do a lot of the stuff he says and not get out of breath while he's dancing sometimes as well and acting. He's great at his job, but it is just. I think he stands out a little bit. Maybe that he hasn't got as much experience as the others.
Yeah,
maybe
it's possibly because the rest of them are so good as well. You know.
Well, yeah.
You know, there is that. I mean, it's sort of like but like you say about him having the hip hop stylings and things. It's sort of like that thing with I know you like it, the musical film Once, where the director Michael, I can't remember his surname, said, you know, he was looking at the film and he's like, you know, it turns out what I need is two people who are good at music, not necessarily two people who can act, because I can give them enough acting to get by. What I need is the authenticity of the music to come through.
Definitely.
So the one thing I was thinking, I wrote down some notes when I was going through this, and you know, I've already mentioned the immigrants, we get the job done. That line, love it. But you can pick apart this from loads of different angles, whether that be politically, musically, the craft of the stage, and all these sort of things. But you know, you've got the line from when they're doing the Schuyler Sisters song, "Helpless." I love it.
That's probably my favourite song, and it's not my style of song at all.
But it's just so light and it's so nice. They're all having fun. It's like one of those things where you see the company on stage and you're like, these guys all really like each other and they're all having a lot of fun singing this. But there's that line where Thomas Jefferson to include women in the sequel. So they take on, you know, the female angle and things. And there is a lot of that. Stage is way further forward than film is, you know, in terms of colourblind casting and telling women's stories, and all those sort of really good things. They even tackle racial inequality. When they talked about Thomas Jefferson, they got it made in the shade and all that sort of thing, and then they mention about, you know, slaves and things like that, and it's horrific, and you can go into that from so many different angles and pick apart any one of those things, and it's layered throughout the whole thing.
What I appreciate about it though is, yes, it's all like you said. There's loads of messages, and then you can take any party if you want, but they don't hit you over the head with it.
No,
it's not like when they say that line about women in the sequel. It's not like they stop and go, "Do you hear what we said there?"
Aye,
yeah. So we're three women in a row here, centre stage. You get it. You get it. Good. It's like, no, they just say it and then they move on. But they do with a bit of attitude, I think, don't they? Like have a bit of a swagger, and that's it. And then they just move on, carry on with the show.
The music kind of stops to do it a cappella, I think, don't they? It's like, bam, right, here's a line, and this needs to stand out, but it's just in the song, so yeah. Doing these podcasts really helps me have a better understanding of things. And things that I picked up on this time was the use of "blow us all away." That comes back. Yeah. That line comes back in loads of different things. So it starts off when you're talking about Alexander Hamilton, that he's going to blow everyone away. And then I really noticed it, again, my favourite guy in this one, Aaron Burr, for some reason this time, when he's singing it, "Sir." You punched who? You punched a burr, sir? See, I can't do it. I can't do it, but like it's brilliant. And when he's singing that Dear Theodosia song, that comes back there and is like, they're going to blow us all away. So it goes from like, Act 1 is aspirations of youth and we're going to change the world. And then sort of into Act 2, it becomes more about legacy and, you know, legacy of the next generations. And then it becomes about overall legacy towards the end and loss and human tragedy and stuff.
But again, talking about sort of some of the characters mirroring, but it's also his son, like Hamilton's son. Sort of, he is just Hamilton when he's younger. Yeah. And because I think doesn't he start off with Hamilton being 19, and then when his son, obviously we're on spoilers now, so when his son gets killed, he's 19, I think, and he's trying to do the same kind of thing.
That's another good thing as well. Like they set up the rules of the duel through the. I mean, in a musical they do everything through music, but they do that so well with number one. And then the 10 dual commandments and things, it just goes round, and that's just so good, that one. But he wins that duel, doesn't he?
Yeah. But I say I love, because obviously it happened in real life, but it's like the tragedy in that, the way they do it on the stage. It's just, because he does what his dad tells him to do. Yeah. Be the bigger man, for want of a better phrase. You know, you put your pistol to the sky, however they phrase it. You know, you're doing the right thing. And if he's a gentleman, he'll do the same thing. He does what his dad tells him and ends up dying, and it's just sort of like, wow, that's horrible.
And that thing in It's Quiet Uptown, to just because I keep going back to that, I was obsessed with that song for a week. It was on every morning. I just couldn't stop. I started playing it. I just sort of get the trombone out and just go, right, I'm just going to play It's Quiet Uptown. And then, it's just so emotional and it's beautiful. But they have that thing of, can you imagine? And you can't imagine that. Like, no. I don't have children, but I would not want to imagine losing one. Yeah. That's devastating. And you see, like, on YouTube, the comments section is just filled with people who have lost people. And that's really done something for them. It's either helped them or it's, made them feel a certain way. He's, devastated, but it's nothing compared to what he's done to her. She's been a loyal, faithful, trusting wife and then is thereafter. It's the forgiveness thing that crushes me every time.
And again, I love how at the end they sort of tell you what she did in her own legacy and getting her story told. And again, because never heard of her until this, and I'm guessing because I don't think they'd make it up the stuff that they said she did at the end.
Funded the Washington Monument and things, an orphanage,
and the orphanage and that. And why don't we know her?
History just doesn't include the women, and I think is one thing that's really important to take from that.
And it's what they say.
And there are some discrepancies with even his life because it's a while ago. And
all we have is what the people that were around there.
I think there was only one historian who ever said there was maybe anything going on between Eliza's sister, Angelica, and him. No one else really sort of buys into that. And Lin-Manuel Miranda himself has said, it's just dramatic. She maybe have feelings for him, but there was never anything reciprocal, and it. There's no secret romance there. They just put that into the play.
And I love how they do that as well. They do the whole thing. Is it the Skylar Sister song? Is it Helpless? One of them.
Helpless, I think.
After that song, anyway, they do like a
the three fundamental truths that she realizes.
Yeah. And again, the actress is Renee Elise Goldsberry. Her performance in that song is amazing. And again, the staging of it is phenomenal. And it must have took some practicing and thinking, where was I standing when I sang that line? Oh, yeah, here.
The whole rewind section, like you don't notice it the first runs through, you're just enjoying it and trying to follow it and things. But when you actually rewatch how all that works, it is amazing.
And it's both sides of a different story. And again, the whole message of it's in the lyrics of, is it who lives, who dies, who tells your story? And it's kind of all about that. Obviously, back then, there was a new country. Everybody wanted to be, play their part and leave their footprint basically. But again, it's to say that right at the end when it's Eliza who stands.
She told your story,
yeah, and she said that I did this, by the way, folks. And even though there's only 3, maybe 4 female characters in that, in a sense, that's just where they were in that point in time as well. And they every time someone back then would have told their own story, the women would have just got left out. So unfortunately, there's not a lot of female parts to telling this story.
It is a shame, and that should change definitely. I did read that there was a survey done, and 53% of Americans in the survey believed that Alexander Hamilton was president. Yeah. But that said, though, I wouldn't know all of the historical prime ministers of the UK. So if someone asked me, was this guy president of America, I'd be like, well, probably, whatever.
Yeah, but it's a name even I knew the name. I couldn't tell you because I would have just assumed, I think he is. And I mean, did he get vice president at some point?
I don't know. I thought there was a political conflict that he had with Aaron Burr anyway, that because his political career was on the way down, I think, wasn't it? Because that's one thing when I was watching it through, they give a lot of free tickets every single matinee to schools for this because it is engaging. It does get people interested in history, and it did me. I watched it with my parents. I think about the second or third time I was watching it. I watched it with my parents, and my dad mentioned the Boston Tea Party, and I'd heard of the Boston Tea Party. I didn't know that's what was going on, and then that caused me to then go and read up on what that was, and I was like, oh, that's really interesting. I didn't realise that that's what kicked off the American War of Independence. To do with the tax of tea. Yeah, the British were importing tea from China and taxing it massively, and it was like, well, we don't want to pay your taxes. Like, why? And they say it in the play as well. Why should this country, island a million miles away, do that? Like, have such sway over us? It's because they'll send a fully armed battalion to remind you of their love. That's why. There's another one where they say, "Look around."
I love that. So
the look around keeps coming back, but then at the end, like in It's Quiet Uptown. I might be wrong on this, but I did read somewhere that that's the first time where they don't follow up with how lucky we are to be alive right now. There's just look around, and it's so clever.
Going back where I said I thought Hamilton might have been vice president. It wasn't. Aaron Burr was vice president
to Jefferson, because they do that, don't they? It's like, oh, I'll be your vice president now, and Jefferson's like, aye, right, you will. I was like, no, he will. Christopher Jackson as well. I've just looked it up. Christopher Jackson as Washington. Wow.
His big moment.
When he's at the end of the stage. Here comes the president. No, here comes the general. What? Yeah. That's a brilliant song. Right Hand Man, I think it's called, isn't it? And the Battle of Yorktown. Yorktown's one of my favourites as well. There's Yorktown, Right Hand Man, Dear Theodosia. Just brilliant. The Reynolds pamphlet as well. I think the Reynolds pamphlet's really fun.
But that's the thing, there's a lot of songs that you'll hear, because obviously when it first opens, every time they did like a performance on, was it the Tonys or a talk show or something, they'd always do the first song, the Alexander Hamilton song. And then you might hear another one or something. But then the ones that you never get a lot of like attention stood out to me the most recent time watching it. Mm-hmm. Like the room where it happened, or like you said, the Dear Theodosia. It's just there's not like a bad song in this.
There isn't, no, and like there are some, like you say, that you're waiting to get to the big moments, and you're wondering when that's going to happen. But when you watch it for the like second or third time, you realise there's no weakness in it. There isn't a slack period. If you start to enjoy it all, you get so much more out of it. Yeah, Hamilton, it's great, and I'm glad we talked about it, even if it just to get other people watching it. If people see that we're going to talk about it and they want to listen to the podcast and go, oh, we'll have to watch Hamilton for this.
And even people who have watched it and see that we talk about it.
Come in. We'll take you. We'll take you as a listener. Come on in.
Yeah. It just shows, like, because I do it. We live in that culture now where most people do it. A lot of people love listening to people that have no idea who they are, complete strangers, talking about stuff they like. That's the world we live in, and I don't mind being that stranger.
Yeah, I'll be your stranger. None stranger than me. Next section. Next section. All right, okay, so here we go. We're continuing our journey aboard the Snowpiercer. We're on episodes 5 and 6 this week. Episode number 5 called Justice Never Boarded, and episode 6 is called Trouble Comes Sideways. These ones, I think, are on the nose. It's becoming apparent what the structure of these things are, isn't it? So, as we always do with this, I'll go through a rapid refresh to maybe give people a laugh. Or you can fast forward through this if you find it annoying. It's only 2 minutes, or less than 2 minutes, hopefully. So, so bear with me while I try and run through what happened in episode 5 in a rapid refresh. 2 minutes on the clock, Sean.
Yep. Ready?
Yep.
3, 2, 1. Refresh.
Okay, so we open on the drawers, and Leighton's having a bit of a dream. The monologue this time is from Audrey of the Nightcar, and it's about Wilfred, oppression, injustice, rebellion, and hope. LJ's trial is in the offing, and there's a rebellion has now moved to 3rd, and Till has been upgraded to 2nd. LJ's fucking around with her dad's eye for some reason, and her mum tells her, all you have to say is, he forced me to. 3rd are threatening Melanie by way of a cockroach platter in 1st to force some justice. Move to the top of the train, and Melanie gets hers. Josie is on the move again right at the back of the train. There's an announcement that there's going to be a fair jury, and 3rd class are to be in the room where it happens. We see more of Leighton's dream, and it's a story of the cannibal killer. This little Tilly went to market and meets Terry. There's a plot to overthrow Melanie. but she's in on it this time. There's tension at the trial, and it looks like LJ's going down. Josie and the janitors break into the drawers, and there's children in the drawers, and that scares her. LJ, eye pokery is explained, and then she plays the victim in the trial. She reveals that there was an informant, and this drawers is all an experiment. Josie gets rumbled, and Till turns on Osweiler. Yeah, I know his name. His name's Osweiler. He's not just the BJ guy. And LJ is guilty, but Mr. Wilford is merciful. Leighton is out. LJ makes a pact with Melanie / Wilford, and Leighton's eyes are open.
Done it again.
How long?
You give yourself 2 minutes, don't you? 1:35.
I'm quick, ladies. That's my only attribute. I am quick and efficient.
Quality, not quantity. Honestly, my first thing I've got here is WTF with the eye. That's the first thing I wrote down.
It was cool.
It looked...
but it was weird. Oh. Yeah. And the fact that it's like a thing as well. It seemed like it's a thing that she does all the time. She's like, I want to. And like, not now, but I want to. Yeah. And then you find out that it was her that poked his eye out in the first place.
But it's one thing holding it, but then she fucking puts it in her mouth.
Yeah.
I know this lass was fucked up, but Jesus. She's honestly creeps me out now. First it was like, oh, this girl's just a little bit of like a little girl with a big issue. And then she's a murderous penis chopper. And now she's a dad eye sucker. She is as Del Boy from Only Fools and Horses would say, she's an olive short of a pizza.
She's but why is her dad encouraging this behaviour?
Yeah, what's up with him, the freak?
Weirdo. And her mum's like, stop it, you two are fucking weird. Like, they are.
It's the first time I've been on her mum's side.
Aye, yeah. And then you can sort of see where she's coming from. Like, they've paid to get on the train, but what is money in this situation? Because when they meet up to sort of overthrow Melanie, they're all like, "What have you got?" Oh, well, I've got like early shares in the train. It's like, well, that doesn't mean anything now. Yeah. What, you could fall out that door? It's like it's a weird thing. Like power, as we've seen from previous episodes, power's based on different things now.
Yeah.
There was a thing that I was thinking about with this episode as well, is who has the power now?
Right.
Because Melanie's in charge, but everyone thinks it's Wilford.
Yeah.
But it seems to me that power's rising from the bottom end up, and people have the power. I know that's what you're meant to be thinking, because there's an uprising in third and things like that. But yeah, this one more than anything, I was like, what is power? Who has it? And what's going on here?
But one thing I do like is there is sort of, and I suppose we can get into this a bit later on into this episode, but first, you hate first, well I do anyway, I hate most people in first, but then there wasn't a lot of sort of like I said, I think in the first couple of episodes, there's not a lot of they're either one way or another. There's no sort of middle ground with the first class passengers, and there's still not much. They're all pretty snooty pricks. But you are seeing shades of grey with other classes. Mm-hmm. Like the third, I've got here, or the third about, because I didn't even like wait till things happened. I kind of wrote it down before it happened or as it was happening. So I've got here, are the third about to rebel against first? Hope so. And then. But the way they act at the trial, you can understand it, but it's like, you're not helping your case here, guys. So there is sort of like shades of grey with other classes. I need to see a bit more of that in first.
Yeah. I see, there were those people that were meeting as well, they were having a meeting and they were talking about the Foglers as well. I get the sense that the Foglers are a sort of different level, and there is tension between those. Not much, but there is starting to be a little bit of tension there.
Comes up a bit, I'm skipping ahead a bit to get to it, but there is a bit of shade of grey with a first class passenger at the trial. One of the jurors, Edith.
All right, yeah, what's that?
Edith, when she's greeting the third class juror, she says, I'm a firstie, but don't hold that against me.
All right, aye.
So she knows, she must get the impression that a lot of people have about the first class passengers.
Yeah.
But then she does her job at the trial. She does what she doesn't. I'm guessing so far it doesn't seem like she's like, oh no, it's a first class person we're judging here. I'm going to stick up for her.
They're not all in it together, are they? Yeah, there will be people who hate those weird eye fondling Foglers.
Yes. So there is a little bit of shades of grey with some of the passengers, but yeah.
I really enjoyed the way they use sex in this, like how the function of sex varies for different people. So Melanie's using it to relieve tension. She's getting hers to blow off some steam. You've got Till, who's having like proper romance things. There's proper romance, and then you've got Officer Blowjob, who who's he's extortionate with it. And Till even sort of calls him out. Are you gonna go? Are you gonna sort of extort anyone for sex this week? So I kind of like what they're doing with that.
I never really picked up on that. I just kind of saw it happening.
I'd actually never I never noticed sex. Like I never noticed nudity or sex in Game of Thrones. But I think in doing this between us, I'm picking apart things way more and reading things in that you would just sort of miss on a cursory glance. This is also my second time through this as well, isn't it? So I'm being reminded of a lot of things.
Well, that's the thing, because I only managed to watch these episodes once this week, and I try to watch them twice.
Yeah.
But yeah, I might have picked up, but yeah, it makes sense. So I probably would have picked up on that. But yeah, you're right with that.
I thought this was really fast paced this week as well. Like the scenes were snippy. You were jumping up and down the train, everything was going on, and you were just getting bits of information about probably 4 or 5 different storylines as it went through, and then it all came together in the end. Like it's really neat. Really, I mean, editing I think is what I'm looking for. Yeah. I think it's really well edited.
And again, I just got here. Like when you said, obviously Melanie using the sex to release tension. Mm-hmm. I have got here, is it getting all too much for Melanie? I've written that down because you can tell she's sort of starting to break.
Yeah, there are cracks showing, aren't there, sort of thing with her.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I think we mentioned it in episode 1 where she goes into that room, she goes to the top of the train, and she puts a hoodie on. I think you mentioned it in episode 1.
Yeah.
You kind of know that that's her being her, so that's the room where you see her. And we get it a bit here where they talk about missing rain and fresh air and things like that. And that reminded me, I know you know it, but the listeners might not, of A Year in Space. That guy who goes to spend a year on the ISS and he comes back and he's like, I miss fresh air and rain.
Yeah. But yeah, I do like that because obviously when she's cuddling the guy and she's just crying on him, and again, I don't know what to think about her.
I think it's because of the unknown. I don't know what she's done with Wilford. If he's left her in the shit, then I completely sympathise with her, and she's just trying to keep things on the go. But if she's thrown him under the train at some point, then absolutely not. It all depends. It all hinges on that for me, I think.
Yeah, but it's good the way they do it, because all the way through it, I'm like I said, there, I've written down, it's getting too much for her. She cries, you feel sympathy for her. She doesn't know what to do with the trial. She knows one way or another she's going to piss one section of the train off. And it's just like, it's a lose-lose for her. Do the right thing or keep peace and harmony. It's sort of like, and you feel sorry for her, and you want to you want to like her, and then there's certain looks on her face where you're like, she's still fucking up to something. And then, so you just never know what to do. And again, another one, again, it's nothing to do with her, it's sort of moving off. I just wrote, I hate Ruth.
I often write that.
Yeah. So it's just shaking her head when the third class juror is announced. She's shaking her head. And then she has that moment with Melanie about like...
I wrote down a Ruth quote which says, we don't have will, we have order. Fuck you, Ruth!
And again, I'm sure the actress is a wonderful, nice person.
She's great. I'm sure she's been in Doctor Who, is she not?
I don't know. Oh, maybe.
We'll look that up for next time. That can be a little tidbit for next week.
Because I did go on around.
Oh, listener, you're there, aren't you, Mum? Mum, you look that up. Tell us, text me next week.
But what I was going to get at is the way she performs it. She's got a really stuck-up face. That's what I was trying to get at. And I'm sure in real life she's not that at all. I'm sure she's lovely. But that's when she's doing a good job. Because she makes me not like her and not want to look at her face.
I think we're coming up on her episodes, so I don't really want to say too much.
But there's a little bit about her in the next one.
We're all right, okay. So, well, yes, there is, yeah. Sorry, the trial for me was great in this. It was like it was a courtroom trial. It was great, and it had all the juice that you get with that. But there's always so many other things going on in these episodes where it ties in lovely.
Well, that's the thing, because it kept chopping in, like you said, there was like the trial. Then it'd go to Josie looking through the drawers. Then it would go to the whole thing with and the whole thing with, I've just got here, Oz is a prick. I don't know what he's done, but he's done something. I think it's kind of what he was trying to use something against Till, I think. So they had all that going on. But I've written the trial here. I like how the main thing that the witnesses tried to get around was, I just wrote dickless. So,
there's a lot of dick stuff in it, isn't there? Just like, they spend the first sort of half of the trial talking about penises.
Every bit of evidence was like, and then his dick was off. Oh yeah, and then he was dickless. Oh yeah, and it was a penis that they removed. That seemed to
He was still alive when the penis came off.
Yeah, that seemed to be the thing. I was just annoyed all the way through the trial, all the way through LJ's sort of playing the victim.
Because you predicted it last week, didn't you? You predicted that she would get off somehow. And even though I've seen this before and I knew what happened, I was like, she's going down. She's away to the drawers. And I'd even convinced myself that, did she go to the drawers for a bit and then get out or something like that? And I'm like, oh no, it's Melanie's in charge and she's making that clear, I think, isn't she? Although LJ seems to think that, she's given a bit of sass to Melanie. She's like, well, that was Mr. Wilford, wasn't it? That'll be up to him. As if, like, he's overruled Melanie. And it's sort of, she's weakened her own position, Melanie, it seems, at the end of this. I like how, like, coming out of the last episode, we didn't know what was going to happen. And, like, Leighton was put in the drawers, and you're like, oh, well, that's him done for a while, isn't it? Nah, he's back out straight away.
But what is the drawers, though? Because obviously we kind of find out. But I just thought, what is the drawers? But because he was fucked up when he came out.
He was, that's it. I mean, he's only been in there a little while, and that Chronol knockout drug really messes you up.
His face, the makeup they do on him, the makeup job, like his face. Yeah. Is freaking
keep you going. But I mean, like another series would have spun that out for a whole series. He would have been in the drawers, and it would have been a whole thing to get him back. Yeah. But this one's like, no, you get that she's convicted, and she's taken down the last one. She's convicted in this one, and let off in this one, and Leighton gets out the drawers, and they find out more about the drawers. I feel like I'm redoing my rapid refresh in reverse here, sort of thing. Melanie loses control. Loads of things are happening. It's like Alexander Hamilton rising through the ranks in 2 hours. It happens really fast, but this whole class structure's starting to break down, and there's more of that in the next one, isn't there?
Well, I get the impression like they've written the story, they've got the idea of what they want, and the writers have been told, oh yeah, you're getting, I don't know, like 18 episodes. Oh, all right, cool. No, you're getting 10. Oh shit. Right. Well, 4, 5, and 6. We'll make that just episode 5. That's kind of what.
It feels like it could be that.
But it's not. But it's done so well. You're not. It's not. You don't feel like they're rushing it.
And it always fits the structure of, we're going to tell you what we're going to tell you. We're going to tell you what we're going to do up top in a little sort of monologue before the credits roll. Then we're going to do it. Then we're going to leave you on a cliffhanger for the next one, and then we're going to do the same thing over again. I mean, it's so formulaic, these episodes, that you'd think it would get boring, but it just gets more exciting. So, episode 6, rapid refresh.
Let me get my timer. Don't know why I closed the thing down. There we go. Ready, wait, 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, so we open with the monologue from Osweiler, the blowjob guy this time. There's cracks in the system, a strike in third, and he prefers this new world, not the old one. There's tension and conflict all over the place between the drivers, Till and Osweiler, Melanie, third, Leighton. It's all going on. Melanie tries to maintain order with threats in third. Leighton learns the truth about the drawers, or learns something about the truth about the drawers that's compared to North Korea. Osweiler is back on the extortion train with Till. There's a death in the tail, and there's a blacklist of some kind. What does that mean? Return of that crazy breach worker in Miles's class, and Miles is a genius. There's a pregnancy. Leighton has not been throwing away his shot. Ruth is suspicious. Leighton has Melanie, but then there's a shaky train, and Melanie confesses her plans for unnatural selection. Melanie gets her hands dirty by going to the train, and Till stands up to Osweiler whilst everything's kicking off. Melanie puts it all on the line, and Ruth reminds everyone on the train that there's still 4 episodes left to go, so they can't all die and derail. Till gets vulnerable with Jinju. Melanie regains control over the whole train. Leighton gets Josie, and Miles has train pajamas and a caliper. What's going to be going on with Miles? How's that?
Minute 31.
I reckon we should try and cut it down every week and see if we can do it. I feel like I might have missed something there, but this seemed to be a slower episode with fewer things going on, but bigger revelations, I think.
Yeah, I was just going to say fewer things, but like bigger noise. Yeah, it was. But again, I've just sort of like I did the notes the same way. I've just got what up with Leighton. Looks like shit.
He's coming out the drawers. Those drawers are not a good thing.
They're not a good place to be.
And Melanie's saying that those crosses on the blacklist, those are people that she's identified that she wants to keep.
Yeah. And I think I've written down somewhere, I hope what Melanie's saying is the truth.
Yeah.
In a way.
Because like we were just saying in the last episode,
yeah,
we don't know what she's doing.
Because I get the process, but maybe tell them that's what it is you want to do. Like, I get you want to save these people. like a sort of weird, fucked up Noah's Ark type of deal.
Yeah.
And it's like danger could happen, as evidenced by what does happen in this episode, and you want a chance for people to carry on and start again. But at least let them know that's what they're signing up for, or at least let them sign up for it.
I think I know something that's going to happen, that's going to come to light over the next couple of episodes or so. So I kind of know why she's not telling them. So that will become apparent, but I don't want to say any more than that because I don't want to ruin anything. What is a caliper?
I don't know. For first class, because I watched it on my laptop, and it looked like one of that device that LJ was using to chop off the penises.
It does, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
And she got hers from Mr. Wilford, she says. So
Yeah.
I don't really know. But that means that Miles is becoming an engineer, basically, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, I was going to say it might be some engineering type of tool that all writers. Someone who's a writer, buy him a pen. That's a nice thing to get them. Or a notebook. Maybe it's just one of those things. An electrician.
Yeah, aye.
Get
them
them
a wire or something. Or wire cutters, yeah.
I was trying to think of more examples.
I don't know, get somebody a hammer. Who uses a hammer? Yeah. Thor. If it was Thor, get him a hammer.
A chef, get him a spatula.
Yeah, get him a hammer too. Oh, alright. Tenderising the meat, that's what he's doing. So there was a lot in this, and I do have to be careful with what I say. There was that thing that annoyed me again, fucking Ruth, where she, when people are praying and things and they do the spectacles, testicles, wallet and watch thing, they all do a Wilford across the chest. You notice that?
Yeah.
But then Ruth does it in the air. She's like praying to Wilford, which leads me to believe again that I'm right about Wilford being God. Because he's a god of sorts in this, isn't he? He's created this. The other thing was, this train is, I can see Melanie's point. This train is fallible. That's running all the time. There is no time to be doing maintenance on it.
I want to know what poor bastards built the track.
I was thinking that in this one as well. Because it's the Arctic, isn't it? Because I thought, how do they cross the sea? Because it goes around the whole world. I'm like, how are they getting around that?
That's what I was going to say, yeah. Because, how did the planet... They must have, known for a while, because... Unless some poor bastard was freezing in the middle of laying the last piece of track.
Well, that's it, isn't it? The Earth's going to freeze. Oh no, let's build a massive track that circumvents the globe. How on earth? Why is that the solution?
You'd think there'd be more, safer ways.
Space station. The moon, at least. There must be some... Maybe that's series 2, though. Maybe, they make contact with the moon. And everyone's just up there. Just everything's first class. They're all champagne.
That's why Wilford's God, he's sitting up there happy as a pig in shit.
Wilford's on the moon.
Because I've got... Melanie is like the wizard in The Wizard of Oz in the Emerald City. It's she's the man behind the curtain.
Yes,
so
aye.
Or she's the woman behind the curtain.
That is a good analogy, actually, yeah.
And I've got 11 more drawer cars.
Yes.
So
11 more drawer cars.
What?
Everyone who's got the X on them.
Again, I can't remember I need to write my meaning behind my little phrases. But Oz needs a kicking.
See, you're on my page now, aren't you? You want him to have a kicking. You were so sympathetic towards him in the first couple of episodes. I was like, no, Sean, he's an arsehole.
I still do think, again, maybe he's not going the right way about it. I think he's one of the characters that annoys me. I think I mentioned it last week. They'll get these scared characters who do the wrong thing just out of fear. And they want to play with the big boys just so they don't get hiding from the big boys. And it's it's like those annoying people, because I got bullied and there's always this little pain in the arse who was always laughing at everything the bully said or the bully did. He just stood there laughing all the time, and I was just kind of like that. He's just the laughing guy.
I did feel a bit of sympathy because he does have a little bit of vulnerability when he thinks he's going to die and he talks about his mum. No, she's an arse. She was horrible when she was sober and worse when she was drunk. But that's who I was thinking about when I was about to die.
But that's the thing. That's why I think he's a dickhead. Someone needs to give him a hiding. But I think there is that bit of vulnerability to him where he's got a little bit of a Napoleon complex sort of thing. He's just trying to be the big guy so he doesn't get stood on.
Until stands up to him in this one as well. That again, another series, there would be sort of episode upon episode of him trying to leverage her and create some extortion racket there. There was a scene where he dipped his hand in someone's food, squeezed the guy's balls, and then she's like, fucking, no, you're not doing this.
And that's what I've written. Yeah, I hope Melanie's telling the truth about the drawers.
Well, what do you think she's saying about the drawers? Because I don't want to... give anything away, so I'll just nod.
I just think she is kind of getting that, like, she's hoping it to be like a backup people, basically. She's wanting spare parts.
Yeah.
So when if the train does derail or die, there's people there just trying to start again. Yeah. I think that's what she's going for, but I don't think it's going to work out that way because, like, they need to figure out because people are coming out like zombies.
Well, I mean, and Melanie not Melanie. LJ mentioned in the last one during her trial that it's an experiment, and Josie noticed that there's children in there, so there are children in the drawers that they're experimenting on. They're all going to have this chrono stuff pumping through them. So what's that?
And I think that's why, like, because I've always thought that Melanie's had a bit of a soft spot for the Doctor.
Oh yes, Dr. Fingers.
Yeah, Dr. Fingers. And I think she just seems to, like, see him as like a lost little puppy I'll be getting for some reason. And so I think that's probably why, because maybe she doesn't want to piss him off, get him on the wrong side, because he must know what's happening because he needs to know.
Yeah. I mean, if he doesn't know the plan, he at least knows the effect and he knows what he's doing. He knows at least his part of it. That's an odd one. And Leighton's got that his ex-wife pregnant, but he's also bedding Josie at the end this time as well.
Yeah, now he's having a bit of fun with Josie. He's getting about this guy.
I didn't realise how sexy it was.
It's a lot more than I thought it was going to be. But it's kind of ramping up a bit because it's like, what was it, like episode 2? I think you saw like the naked SeaWorld, and then there was just like they were in bed, and then there was like the little dream sex bit in the
people
in
are
the
fucking now though, aren't they?
Oh, people are just, none of that shit, just like full on.
Oh, and I noticed we went back to the tail a bit more this time.
Yes, well,
because I'd sort of forgotten about the tail.
Yeah, well, I've written something down and I kept glancing because I was trying to remember what it meant, but as soon as you said that, I clicked in. I've got it. Is that what it looks like outside? Like the little kids when they're showing the reflection of, like,
they open up that hole, don't they? Like live streaming outside. I was trying to think of something clever for the refresh to say for that, like some sort of cinema reference, but my brain didn't work enough.
And then that little girl, bless her, just looks behind the sheet to see, like, because it's like when you're little and you think the people live inside the TV. She goes behind the sheet to, like.
Little anecdote from me: the first time I ever went to the cinema, I went to see Snow White: The Seven Dwarfs. It was like a rescreen. I'm not that old, but it was a rescreening.
I think I was about 3, and I went, and that's the first thing I've seen in the cinema.
But I didn't watch the screen. I watched it on where the projector comes through, because there's a little glass in front of that, so you can see it sort of projected on the glass in front of where the projector is. So I watched it on this tiny little TV screen at the back of the room. Everyone else is facing like this massive screen, and I'm like, being a little bit contrary here, mate.
That reminds me of the first time I went to a football match. It was Man United at Old Trafford, and we're sitting like the first bit up, and right behind me was the private booths people have.
All right, yeah.
And I was sitting there watching it, but I kind of looking around because they're watching it on a TV behind me. So it's like every time something happened, I'd turn around to get the replay.
And they do that in like the private rooms of football, don't they? They have it playing on TV screens. The thing that's happening right in front of you, they have it on the telly in there.
It's just showing off.
So yeah, what was happening in the tail? That woman who died, that was the one who sacrificed her arm. Because they were going to do her kid, weren't they? They were going to do the kid's arm. And that's the kid who gives her a little dolly at the end, sort of thing. Yeah. And her son, he's raging.
Oh yeah.
I'm worried about what he's going to be up to, because he's like, no service, no ceremony, call for disposal. It's like, what's going on his little head? And
then he just drags the lass off and she's trying to say bye to her mum. It's the same little lass who had the hand, isn't it?
Oh, is that? Oh yeah, hi, is it? Yeah, I mean, there can't be many little lasses in the tail. Yeah. So the one who used to open the door with a hand. Yeah.
Because obviously it's her that looks behind the sheet to see if the outside's right there.
Because you sort of forget that they're having such a rough little time of it back there, don't you? Yeah. Because Melanie threatens third class with the tail. It's like, look, if you lot strike, 10 years at random are going back to the tail.
And I'm going to promote.
You're not going to promote, like, because always remember that there's people back there who want your life, and I was sort of thinking, this is a really good way of displaying how society actually is.
Yeah.
You sort of you're told to stay in your lane because it could be a hell of a lot worse. So you don't really. There are no rebellions and things like that, and we've got it quite good. But maybe I'm just saying that we've got it quite good because I'm conditioned to think I'm third class that my third class life is better than the tail. I don't want to be in the tail. Oh, tie myself up and start eating my own tail thinking about that thought.
And so, in the big sort of drama with this one is the train nearly freaking derails.
Yeah. I mean, that's dodgy CGI, isn't it? You realise now that it's a TV series, and you're like, that's fine.
And you realise why you don't really see a lot of the outside. But it was good how they did it as well. It was like, I like how Melanie stepped up.
Yeah. I can see why narratively she had to do that, because that led to a whole sort of, what do you call it? Deus, whatever it is. She took back control of the train. She took the action, took the train back. Everyone loves her. Touched the train. He does a speech, that guy, and they probably went and had sex again later on. But that could have been anyone who put that thing in the thing, because that's all it was. It was just reconnecting a thing to a thing. That's all she needed to do. Anybody can reconnect a thing to a thing. You probably shouldn't have the queen of the train hanging at the bottom of the train connecting the thing to the thing, because anyone can do that. But I understand why she needed to do it in order to regain power.
I think we've got the name of this episode. Episode 3.
Connecting the thing to the thing.
And I've got here, brace in place. Good motto for life. especially the way things are with us at the minute.
Brace in place. That's what it should be. That's what our instructions should be, shouldn't it? None of these save lives, whatever it is, or the facts campaign and things like that. Just stay where you are. Brace in place.
And I did like that moment how it did sort of like you said, it got sort of Oz to reveal a bit of himself.
Not the bit of himself that he reveals to the tail all the time.
He revealed a different bit of himself. And I think I've written the first nice thing about Ruth.
Oh yeah, what's that?
Nice speech, Ruth.
She's something sympathetic. She is just, like I said last time, she's a company man. She just wants to toe the line. Yeah. She said it last time, we don't have will, we have order. She will follow whatever the rules are, even if it means her jumping out the train.
But I think she's looking out for herself in the fact that it's like she's sucking up to that Folger family. She's a bit of like...
Bit of a bottom feeder, isn't she? Yeah, aye.
Yeah, and I think, like I said, I could be wrong, but I get the impression she's not used to that lifestyle. She wants to keep that lifestyle. And the only way to do it is by doing her job well, like you said. But she comes across like a proper stuck-up bitch when she's
But she did seem suspicious to me of Melanie.
Yeah.
A little bit here.
But I can't remember exactly what she said in the speech. But it starts off with just a bit like a very company speech.
Yeah.
Very PR. And then she reveals, like, she kind of gets like, come on, folks, we've got this, and tries to sort of...
rally the troops.
Yeah,
we've still got 4 episodes to go. We can't derail. Yeah. Otherwise, what's going to happen? What are people going to watch? What's Sean and Billy going to talk about on the podcast? Think about it.
And then I've got here, I like how you heard the background rattle of the train when Bennett's given the sort of victory speech.
Yeah.
Taking the credit, obviously, because, for whatever reason, we can't find out that Melanie did it. So him and that guy, I can't remember his name, but I bloody love him.
Oh yeah, the maniac who they somehow allowed to speak to children in the classroom.
Yeah. Brilliant.
You can feel the real cold back when you go outside. It's cold is different now. Cold used to be cold, but now real cold is cold, and I love it.
I love the guy. He's brilliant. But yeah, so he's giving his victory speech, and I think it was when he says everybody touched the train, you hear the sort of the rattle of it gets just amplified a bit.
Yeah.
And you hear the sound of the train. I like that touch. It was quite good. And I've written here, at the end, just when I thought Melanie was good, she has a suspicious look on her face when the whole bit with Miles in his train pajamas.
Yeah, what is she up to with Miles? Because it's like she was just got control of the train, and now she's taking on a kid to do something. Like, you just thought she was okay, maybe.
It is with Leighton fighting his hair in the other episodes. Why is it his hair? Is there something to do with him? Maybe it's got something to do with the whole, like, are they going to end up cloning people?
Maybe he's Jesus. It's Miles Jesus. Wilfred's God and Miles is Jesus.
If he turns up with a crown of thorns or some equivalent, then I think you're spot on. But yeah, what is going on?
That's it. Every episode leaves you reeling, doesn't it? It's like, what's happening now?
That's why I nearly watched episode 7. the other day, but I had to restrain myself. The Series 2's come on, and I didn't hear anybody talking about Series 1.
No, I mean, I did. I watched Series 1 and I loved it. And there's a couple of people that I talked to about it, but not many.
Yeah, but the writing is so good, because like you said, they fit so much into one episode, but at the same time, they don't sort of miss anything out. It doesn't feel like it's battering you over the head. It just feels like we're getting the stuff we need to know, and they're doing it in a way that keeps us wanting more. And then you're always, it's like, again, I used it before, it's like WandaVision. It's like you're getting answers.
Which we're reviewing next time, by the way. Next podcast, WandaVision.
So you're getting answers, but they're giving you more questions. And it's brilliant, because that's what makes you want to tune in. And every time I think I've got something sus, especially with Melanie, you think you've got something sus, you think she gives you the answers on this one, and you're like, no, what's happening?
That's the thing for me. It always gets to like this stage in a series where I'm starting to really enjoy it. It happens with loads of different series, and it all hinges on what happens between now and the end. They need to answer enough of the stuff that they've set up, whilst also keeping you intrigued. But with this now, although I know I've seen it, and I can't really remember I watched the whole series, with this, they do that every episode to me, so I have every faith in them that by the end of the series, they're going to answer enough questions to keep me interested, but still leave enough unanswered to or raise more questions.
And that is just it's basis, like just good writing.
Yeah.
It's
that's what bothered me about Game of Thrones. It never answered the stuff. It never went anywhere. It just trundled along. And just when you thought you were going to get, the White Walkers are at the wall in end of series 2, still another 4 series before anything happens.
Yeah, and that was probably the fact of just like trying to write a series before the series was based on was even finished.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, it's doing its job. It's making me just want to keep tuning in. So, and that's what a good series has to do. It's like a good trailer. It needs to make you want to watch the thing, but not give too much away. And because it's episodic, it needs to do that every episode. And every series has a bit where you've got like a drop off.
Yeah.
And so far, it's getting to that, because there's only 10 episodes, isn't there?
10 in the series, yeah. A nice tight 10. I don't like any more than 10. It's too much of a commitment.
And it's getting to like 6 and 7 is usually the time where it sort of has the quote-unquote filler episodes that sort of dips. So far, it's not had that, I don't think. So hopefully, because I know it has to go on a journey, you have to have the third 3-act structure.
Yeah.
You're going to start off, have the peak, and then...
Yeah, you're right. I've never thought of that with this, but yeah, there aren't any filler episodes, are there? I mean, we've been talking about every episode every week, and we're 6 in now, and not once have we said, "Oh, this is a bit of a filler one." This,
yeah, it's 6 for 6. And again, here's my weekly Doctor Who. It's like, I love Doctor Who, but every series has episodes where I'll just, if I rewatch them, I'm like, I can skip this one. Yeah. Like, so even though I'll love the show, there's always an episode, maybe 2. That I know I don't have to bother about watching again.
Well, back to Game of Thrones for me. I don't really bother watching any of that, but every year I watch Battle of the Bastards.
Yeah.
I love that one. Just that episode, the score, and that's amazing for me. We're talking about Snowpiercer. I know I shouldn't be tangential. Yeah. Let's either talk about Snowpiercer or move on. Was there anything else you want to cover in this episode? I think we've done it all, haven't we? I think that's it. I'm really excited to see where it goes. And the good thing about it is, I think, because whether we decide to carry on and do series 2 for this as well, for the podcast, at least I know as soon as I finish this, series 2's probably fully done, or maybe I can probably just watch it and catch up. Because we'll be doing it for if we carry on doing this for the podcast, like, we're definitely enough behind now where we'll be able to do series 2. Yeah. Awesome. Next section?
Let's do it.
Next section, then, the best of the worst. So this is where we take a film, and it's something that people generally don't like, and we try and find good stuff in it. So, Sean, what are we doing this week?
Well, this week, for our best of the worst, we're doing the worst of the worst in the films, that is Batman. So yeah, Batman Begins. Joking. Batman and Robin. There's only one thing to say about this. Yeah. Yeah, that's your synopsis. Yeah. It's like, people got paid. There we go. People got paid. Oh, you know what it is, the thing about this, right? I'm not even going to bother telling people.
I thought you liked this.
But I did. When I was a kid. When I was a kid, this is my favourite film. I'd watch it every day, literally every day. Going to bed, I'd put this on and fall asleep watching Batman and Robin. Every night for about a year. I loved it. And then as I was getting older, I hadn't seen it for a while. and getting in, like studying acting and hearing people, this film's the best. The worst films ever. Oh, Batman and Robin. People would talk about Batman and Robin in the worst film ever, and I'm kind of like, don't tell anybody you like it. And then I watched it with older eyes and more experienced eyes, and someone who's studied films and things like that, and it's shit.
I mean, I like it is shit.
It's still got a place in my heart.
I thought this was going to go a completely different way, because this was your idea to watch this, and I'm like, okay, I like the Tim Burton ones. I really like, because that was my childhood. Spoilers: I'm older than Sean. By the way, we talk spoilers. We didn't say this last time up top, but we talk spoilers right from the very off with this. So if you haven't seen Batman and Robin, it doesn't fucking matter. Because you're not going to watch it anyway. Sean's just told you it's one of the worst films ever made. We agree with the consensus. However,
and the thing is, though, cutting very quickly, I wouldn't put it on like the worst films ever made, but it's nowhere near the best list. But I mean,
see, well, I thought this was going to go a completely different way because you were the one that wanted to watch this, and this was one of your films from a childhood. I think we've had various little discussions about it previously, saying, and I'm like, oh, it's shit. So here's the shocker. I didn't really hate it. I don't like it, but I've started watching this, so it opens up, right? And I've written down here, I love the credits. It's like the first Superman. You get the morph of the Warner Brothers logo into the bat symbol, which happens at the beginning of these Batman films. And it's like someone's doing like a Tim Burton tribute thing. It is a weird thing like that, but you open it up, and the first sort of 10 minutes is fucking bonkers. Like, you've got the Bat-nipples, you've got the really rubbered bat suits. The Batmobile is the weirdest thing I've ever seen in my life. And now I remember getting excited for the Batman Forever one. And when I looked at this one the other night, I was like, I like this Batmobile. That's a cool thing for kids. It's a good toy. This film is just filled with toys for kids.
That's going to come up in a bit of my trivia, I think.
Yeah. But then I also got, like, you've got the Robin now. He has the Nightwing symbol across his chest. So if you're into that, he mentions Nightwing in Batman Forever. Yes. He's like, oh, what do you want to call me? Like, Nightwing. So he's got the Nightwing symbol. The Batmobile's really cool. Then you go out and they're going to fight crime, and it's Dr. Freeze, and they've got hockey henchmen. Like proper 1960s Batman henchmen. Robin says cowabunga as they jump from a fucking rocket that's flying into space. I don't understand why he's going to space, other than he's like, it's really cool up there, I'm going to enjoy the cold. It's those gadget things where they've got pop-out skates.
Yeah, it's like,
that just come out.
They just happen to have skates in their boots.
They've got everything they need
because
all the time.
It's clear that Freeze hasn't been around, because Commissioner Gordon pops up and gives us very badly written, he's frozen the antiquities ring, he's done this, he's calling himself Mr. Freeze. It's like he's like a sports announcement on the little bat phone. So they've never met him, but it's just so lucky that they've got ice skates in their boots.
They must just have them for when they want to go ice skating.
Or they probably just sat there going, what kind of villains are we likely to encounter? Okay.
Where do those blades retract to, though? Yeah. Because they've got normal soul.
It's like where have they been? They must have really fucking painful feet.
But this was exciting for me. Like when I was watching it, I'm like, I was expecting to absolutely hate it, because I remember always hating it.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, I might be grateful to Sean now, because this is quite fun. What? This is like, it's something.
I mean, like, let's be honest. Like I said, it's shit. Let's not beat around the bush here. It's not.
I hate Freeze as well.
Oh yeah, it's not a good film. But I'll say this: out of the three that we've done so far, for the best of the worst, it's my favourite out of the three. It's
really,
yeah. But I think a lot of it is nostalgia. Sometimes it's hard to get away from nostalgia. But but because
there's nothing wrong with that either.
Of course. But because I love Batman, and Batman's always been my favourite superhero, and I've got a lovely sort of, and I don't know if, when you're a kid, you remember some things, you don't know if you've made it up or not, but you think it's true. I've got one of them stories, and I've never checked with my mum and dad to see if I'm remembering this correctly or not. So maybe I'll find out, but I'll get to that in a second. But so Batman's always got a special place for me, and I love the Burton ones. I'm even a fan of Batman Forever. I like that film.
Well, Batman, I think for me, because I'm just a couple of years older than you, Batman Forever was your Batman and Robin.
Yeah.
If that makes sense to anyone. Does that make sense? Right in. But that was what it was for me, because I had the U2 soundtrack.
Yeah.
The Hold Me, Thrill Me, Kiss Me, Kill Me
Great
thing.
Song.
I loved Jim. I had everything with Jim Carrey at the time. I had The Mask on VHS, the Ace Ventura Pet Detective. I liked Tommy Lee Jones. Tommy Lee Jones was in The Fugitive round about then, not sanctioning his buffoonery and stuff. I love that story. Let's just... Can I do that?
Go for it.
Just for the listeners who don't know the story of this, Tommy Lee Jones and Jim Carrey are working on Batman Forever. And we all know what those two performances are. Tommy Lee Jones is a little bit showy, but Jim Carrey is your standard Jim Carrey. And after work one night, they're in a restaurant, and Jim Carrey approaches Tommy Lee Jones's table to say, "Hey man, how's it going?" And Tommy Lee Jones just stands up and to his face says, "I cannot sanction your buffoonery," and walks off.
Honestly, Tommy Lee Jones is one of those people where it's like, I appreciate him as an actor. I'd love to work with him, but he scares the shit out of me.
I'd never want to interview him.
No, hell no.
Or maybe I do. Tommy Lee Jones. Write in. Email in. We'll have you on here.
You can berate us. You can do whatever you want. Just
sanction our buffoonery or not. Whatever you want. So Batman Forever was that. And I bought Batman Forever a couple of years ago. I bought them all. And I watched up to Batman Forever and I was like, yeah, this isn't as good as I remember it being.
I don't know what it is, but I watched it a few months ago and I still like it. I mean, again, it's not as good as I remember it, but I think it gets a lot of the Batman and Robin stink. I think a lot of people put them together because of the two Joel Schumacher ones. He nearly ruined the Batman franchise, so Batman Forever has to be as bad as Batman and Robin, and it's not. It's not as bad.
It's not as bad.
It's not as good as the other two.
No, but I mean, Joel Schumacher. I was looking up his sort of resume, and he has some of my favourite films. He also directed the original Flatliners, I noticed that.
Yeah, I picked up on that, yeah.
It's a little tie-in. But he did A Time to Kill. Have you seen that?
I think I have years ago, yeah.
One of my favourite films about the Deep South racism and a court case of a murderer. Bad Company. Now, I know that's not good, but it's Anthony Hopkins and I think it's Chris Rock. Maybe?
Chris Rock.
No, is it Chris Rock?
I know I saw him in one of the posters.
Yeah. An 8mm with Nicolas Cage. That's about a private investigator looking into a snuff film. That's weirdly dark. That's odd, that one. But yeah, so I like some of his films.
Well, I've got a couple here that you haven't mentioned that I like.
Okay.
Phone Booth. I like Phone Booth.
Oh yeah, I like Phone Booth, yeah. Kiefer Sutherland again, off of Flatliners fame.
We need to get Keith if you're listening.
Yeah, you email in. Phone in.
I like the Phantom of the Opera film he did. And a lot of people kind of don't like it. I like it.
I haven't seen that. Okay.
Lost Boys.
Right, yeah.
Guess who's in that?
Kiefer Sutherland.
And St. Elmo's Fire.
No, I haven't seen that.
I love St. It's one of those films where it's like, you watch it and nothing happens.
Right.
Really, it's like, it's about a bunch of friends who are friends at uni and college, and now they're into the main world. Some of them have become successful lawyers, some are doctors, some are struggling musicians. They try to find money to pay, for their ex-partner's upcoming baby, and they're cheating on each other with each other. Not a lot really happens, but it's very amazing performances. Anyway, but yeah, it's like Joel Schumacher. That's what I was going to say. Like there is some films he's done, good films, but he did nearly kill the Batman franchise, and he knew it.
The thing I've got with this one as well is that on good stuff, it's tonally consistent throughout.
Yeah,
they go for something. It's nothing that anybody wanted, but they go for it and they get it. They get that consistent tone of totally shit, weird hybrid between Tim Burton and the 1960s Batman series.
And one thing that really stood out for me, and I kind of touched on it last week at the end, how I like movie scores. I like the music in these films, the Forever and Batman and Robin.
Yeah, like the music. I've got it. It's like, again, it sounds like as much as the film is a Tim Burton tribute. It felt like the guy in this, who was, what was his name?
The musician.
Elliot Goldenthal, who did the score for this. It sounded like he was doing an Danny Elfman tribute in a lot of respects.
Right.
And again, like we were saying last week with, or at least I was saying with you, when you mentioned James Horner, he's worked with good directors who know how to use the score. And it felt here that Joel Schumacher didn't know how to use any of the elements of the film. He just threw everything at the wall. When there was score, there was loads of score. And when there was neon lights, it was all fucking neon lights.
Well, that's good. I think because Batman Forever kind of introduced that style.
Yeah.
And then Batman and Robin took that and took the piss out of it. And it ups it and ups it.
We're meant to be doing good stuff, though, aren't we? Good.
Yes.
So
well, that's what I was saying. I like the score.
Right. Okay.
I like the score. I like because it does work. It works for what they're going for, and it does. It sounds like Batman to me. But then again, like you said, it's sort of like because when I hear Batman, because the animated series and the original Batman, the music's the same.
Yeah.
And so that's my Batman. That's what I said. And it's like you said, it's sort of like a Danny Elfman sort of tribute. So maybe it's got that. I was liking the visual effects, and then when I started to really pay attention, because I think it worked, and you could tell some of it's matte painting, some of it's miniatures. You can tell. But the way they do Gotham, it's kind of like how I would imagine Gotham.
Yeah.
Apart from the ridiculously huge statues, like holding the observatory up. But I like the imagery.
I've got that for our Waffle Award. I'll just bring it in here now. So for our Waffle Award, I've got sets, models, props, and costume. Because they did a lot of work. All those sets are really cool. There's a lot of money gone into that, and they did a lot of work on them. And possibly even stunts. Because there's a lot of stunts in this. Like, it's really pretty good. And, like, I've got a copy here, which the listeners can't see, of Batman The Dark Knight Returns. The classic Frank Miller thing. Now, that looks... I'll just turn to a page. Doesn't that look like Mr. Freeze's tank? The tank in this?
Yeah,
they're not totally going off script with this. You know, there is stuff in the comic books. Now, granted, the new Snyder cut looks way better than this, but in this book you've got gangs of mutants. Now, that looks like the biker place that they go to. I mean, Batman's on a horse there. It's way cooler.
Well, yeah.
but
Batman needs to be on a horse.
But that looks like plus a bit more neon. That looks like the biker gangs that they go and see.
And I was trying to remember, I can't remember the guy's name now. Is the leader of the biker gang that Batgirl goes to? I'm sure he's a well-known rapper.
All right, I don't know. I don't really know rappists.
He's a rappist. But
Kid Cudi, is he one? Who's seen this?
Is it Coolio?
I don't know.
Anyway, I should have looked. So I did like as well. Obviously, George Clooney's not shy about saying how his problems, and he doesn't that he just did not like this film and stuff like that, and how he's fully aware of what it was and how it was. I like the casting of Alicia Silverstone as Batgirl.
I like it. But going back to George Clooney, I've always loved him as Bruce Wayne, just not Batman. Yes. And the stuff that he has with Alfred, and actually the outline of the Victor Fries being the doctor who can cure Alfred's condition story arc, I think is a great outline for a script. I don't know what the fuck happened to it in between writing that down on a post-it note and it becoming this weird sort of jumble of just one-liner sort of, so this is where you hang out. This is going to be cool, or whatever they say. Just a jump. They took that, didn't they? They said, right, Alfred's sick. We've cast George Clooney, so he's going to be really good in scenes with him. Victor Fries is going to tie in at the end because his wife's got the same condition that Alfred has, and that's going to be the cure. What else is going to be in the script? And someone just went, I don't fucking know, here's some lines.
It's like I've got here that the writer, obviously Academy Award winner, Oscar winning Akiva Goldsman. I've got an idea that he just sort of he was writing there, coming up with some stuff. It was that's quite funny, cool party. That's quite a funny line, And then he's like, but that one's quite funny as well. I could use both of them. Oh wait, that could be quite funny. Fuck it, I'll have all three. I think that's what he did. He just could not decide which of these, because individually, if there was just one or two of these cold puns or ice puns, it would have been funny. It would have been good.
But it's every 2 seconds.
2 or 3. But it's every line. It's like he couldn't decide which one to get rid of. So you know what? Fuck it, I'll have them all. But I've got here because one of my favourite lines in the film, and it's a Mr. Freeze line, but he does it. It's not a cold pun, so it works. I like it. It's when he speaks to, as he calls him, Mr. Bane.
He does, doesn't he? Every time.
No matter what they tell you, Mr. Bane, it really is the size of your gun that counts.
There are some weird, because I was thinking that going through it, there's a few things like that, and I'm like, who's this for? Because there's a lot of sexual references in here. one of the bad things I've got is it's a bit problematic that Bruce Wayne's auctioning off women for a botanical garden, is it not? And you've got those, what side of the line is this film think it's on? Because it's introducing Batgirl, and Batman turns around and goes, that's not very PC, what about Bat-person or Batwoman? And it's like, right, okay, but you were selling women earlier on in this to really old pervy millionaires. You being one of them. Like, what side of the line do you think you're on here?
You can't play that game. You know, you got to pick one side.
I'm with you, though. I'm with you on the casting of Alicia Silverstone. I think, you know, they were probably thinking this was going to be the jumping off point for a bigger world, because they talk about Superman. You know, this is why Superman works alone. And I was like, we're going to get Superman in this. And, you know, you bring in Batgirl, and I thought it was a bit weird that she rocks up in a school uniform.
Yeah.
But I think that's leading on from, you know, in Batman Forever, Bruce Wayne adopts adult man Chris O'Donnell. You know, it's not a child.
One of the problems a lot of people have was that, you know, how Robin, like the way they use Robin in both films, he's clearly not a child.
Yeah, but he's acting like a child. And they're arguing about kissing. Batman and Robin are pathetic in this.
Oh, they are. But it's funny because obviously with Robin in the first one, no matter what you do with Robin, you can't have Robin in films like he is in the comics.
No.
Because there's no way. If you're ever going to get Boy Dick Grayson in a film, he's not going to be Robin.
You just said Boy Dick twice. That could be cut out and used in a loop, Sean. I'm going to make that a song. That's going to be one of our jingles, just you saying Boy Dick over and over again.
I can't even say adolescent Dick.
He's man Dick. That's the problem. The problem is he's man Dick Grayson.
You're never going to get. Oh, I can't even. You can't get Boy Richard Grayson, right? You can't do it because he's not going to be. Because he won't be Robin. And if you do get Boy Robin, it's not going to be the same kind of Batman film that a lot of audiences.
It's going to be that new film that's on Netflix where George Clooney takes a child across the Antarctic or something like that, isn't it? It's like he's just going to be an irresponsible guy taking a child into a dangerous situation.
So if you ever do get young Richard Grayson in the films, he won't be Robin. He'll just be maybe try to sneak around. He'll be sneaking around Wayne Manor and finding the Batcave at the end mainly. Maybe, and getting bribed with ice cream so he doesn't tell anybody. And obviously in this film, Batgirl isn't the Batgirl from the comics or the original, and because she's not Commissioner Gordon's daughter, she's Alfred's niece for some reason. And one thing I found, like, I did like her character, and I think if Robin wasn't there, you could have focused a lot more on her and how because she's clearly a little bit troubled. She's looking for danger.
Well, she's basically got the same story arc as Robin did in Batman Forever, though, wasn't she? It's like, should we just do that again? Make it a girl, make it a girl. Yeah, girls like that. And then we can sell toys to girls. But
it's right. It's like they've took a bit of like a step forward, but then taking 50 steps back. Like they've got selling women, and then you focus when she's getting her suit on. You focus on her batsuit tits. And it's just kind of
I think that's why they painted they put nipples on the guys, because they were like, well, we're going to show Alicia Silverstone's tits and butt, so let's make it equal by putting nipples on the guys and showing their butts too.
And again, it's like nipples on the Batgirl's one step too far. So it's like we'll just have the outline of. I
love the discovery of like the one thing I've got as a positive is I love her discovery of the Batcave. Like Alfred's dying, but he's put together this CD-ROM thing that's got a password, and they do that 90s thing where the password is written on the photo next to the computer, which everyone's parents' passwords are that. We all know that. We've all been there. Like, write your password down, otherwise you'll forget it.
But I like how the password for the secret that is Batman and Robin is a 3-letter word.
Peg. And it doesn't even sort of block it out when you type it on the screen. It comes up so anyone can see that. Peg. Not even Peggy. Peg.
Or because doesn't he say like almost my nickname for her was Peg, Sweet Margaret, I think I used to. Couldn't you put Sweet
69
Peg, Margaret 1 underscore.
But that's it. I've just written down here old man password. And the good thing is, that made me sort of nostalgic. You were saying nostalgia before. When I bought this DVD, you put it in and it's got special features. I was like, ooh, this will be interesting. bit behind the scenes. It's all reading. It's all those 90s CD-ROM special features. It's all reading about Bob Kane. And do you want to know how we did the models? We made models. Like, yeah, I know, I can see that. I can see that as models. Do you want to know how we built the Dr. Freeze's mobile? Well, we designed it and then we built it. Like, I can fucking see that.
I'm trying to think. There is more positives.
Oh, yeah, okay. When Alicia Silverstone comes in and she's first Batgirl, that's what I was going to get onto. She comes in, and she's like fighting. She's like, "You're about to be compost." I hate the way she says that. But then Batman comes up and he's like, "And who are you supposed to be?" He's like, "Batgirl." And then he's talking to her for a little bit. They have a bit of banter, and she's like, "Bruce, it's me, Barbara." We know that mask's not that good.
It's like she didn't even take have a look behind her. Does anyone know? It's me. It's me, Barbara.
We're gonna have to kill her. Yeah, we'll kill her later. And then immediately they've got like new ice mobiles as well.
Yeah, they just happen to have the stuff.
But then that's what happened. Then the superheroes did have that. They've just got what they need. That's fine.
But having said that, I don't know why, because I don't think we should. But I like the ice versions of this.
Yeah, I do. Aye.
With the big silver bat sign, it looks cool. In Batgirl's wearing a mask for riding the bike, not even a helmet, just a mask, a rubber floppy mask, and takes it off. What is the point? But the mask looked cool. Keep that on.
Yeah,
it looks cool.
I thought it all looked cool. Like I loved it. Like if I was a child, I'd be like, I want all this stuff.
Yeah,
I
kind of still do.
I want the icy things. I want that in winter. I want that as a sledge. I want Batman's bat sledge as a sledge.
And obviously, I think I actually mentioned this back in our first episode talking about Snowpiercer. The freezing in that is so cool, and the freezing in this is so shit.
I know, he just picks up Robin and then just puts him in a bath. It's like, you can either stop me or you can help your friend. It's like, actually, I could have just kicked him into that pool and carried on chasing you, because it doesn't need to do it. They've got those unfreezing guns as well, the little laser.
They happen to have those. But I've always wanted one of them. It looks cool. I wanted, laser pens were a thing, but they weren't lasers; they were just lights.
Yeah.
I wanted a Batman one of them. I want one of them, but it's like a laser pointer. But one thing I've noticed watching it like a couple of days ago that I've never noticed before, never, when they're unfreezing everybody at the end and they're going around the city and you're seeing, which it's a cool sort of like method of using. You see people get frozen and you're seeing the same people get defrosted.
Yeah.
But as a policeman, somebody gets out of a car
and the ice is still on the door.
The ice is flopping.
Plastic floppy ice on the door. Yeah, I noticed that. I loved it. That's in my positives.
I've never noticed that before.
No, but I mean, I've never
noticed that before.
I've never watched this since it first came out. I don't think so.
And there's a bit. The dog as well. The dog happens to get frozen when he's taking a piss on a fire hydrant.
Yeah.
Why do dogs in films have piss on fire hydrants? I suppose why dogs in real life have pisses on lampposts all the time.
They just piss when they want to piss.
It always happens to be a fire hydrant in films.
Like you see, the stuff looks cool. All the stuff looks cool, and that's deliberate. They were just like, we need to sell toys.
Yeah, well, apparently, like I've got that. I'll say it now because I've got it part of my trivia. It's like
trivia.
The producers. Will I do my trivia?
Yeah,
now?
Sean's trivia corner.
Yeah.
Sean's trivia corner.
Right, cool. Anyway, so I don't know where it is on my list, but yeah. So Schumacher blames the studio because they wanted to make to be more toyetic. That's a word they used, toyetic. He wanted to make a third film and take it back to the darker roots. The idea was to do Batman Year One,
all right,
as the third film, but they were
still read Year One. Actually, I've meant to.
I think I've seen the animated film version. I think, but anyway, yeah. So they wanted to be more toyetic, so they decided against that, and then they were pitching to do like another one with Batgirl, Robin, and Batman. And just go for more of the same. So if we did get a fifth one in the original Batman, it would have probably made Batman and Robin look like Citizen Kane. Because they just wanted to be toyetic, and that's all it was. They were just the idea, because Batman became cool again after Tim Burton's Batman. Yeah. It became cool again, and then because that made other things go up, that made comic book sales go up, it made toys, merchandise from like everything they had in the 60s with the Batman series. And I think the studio obviously didn't realise what they had with Batman.
No.
And they just wanted, it's the 60s. That's when it was big, and they wanted to sell toys,
Yeah.
and that it's a business. I get it, but yeah. Another one I've got here. So Clooney has been known to refund people who saw the film.
Has he? Oh, I'm going to have to meet him then. George Clooney, email in. I want my money back. I've thought that about some films, actually. I was going to bill the producers of Cats for my time. You want to see that?
So we mentioned the Punderful lines that Schwarzenegger has as Mr. Freeze.
Not just him though; it's fucking everybody. If it was just him, it might be excusable.
Do you want to have a guess at how many ice puns there are in the film?
Oh, I hope it's 69.
Unfortunately, not.
Sweet Peggy 69. That's.
Oh God, because I've written here what it was, but then I've put in brackets. I think it's more, but I'm not going to count. Apparently, it's only 27. I thought it was a lot more than 27.
It feels more because everyone's doing them. Not just ice puns as well. Like you've got that bit where they fall off the roof and Dick, child, what did you call him? Little Dick catches Batgirl, and he's like, "Oh, this is where you hang out.
Yeah,
shut up and pull me back onto the bridge."
So we're talking before about how Bruce Wayne's wondering if she's not being PC enough by calling herself Batgirl, and yet he's selling women.
Yeah. Yeah, but they're women, not girls, Sean. That's the distinction.
So when asked what items they would like to take home, Arnold Schwarzenegger said he wanted the Mr. Freeze armor. I don't blame him.
Yeah.
Uma Thurman wanted Ivy's big throne thing that she's got.
Do you reckon she would do that walnut whip hair again as well that she has?
Yeah. Do you know what it is? The character looked cool at the start and then just looked really silly.
I like her lair, that whole setup that she has, a Turkish bath thing.
Again, it's a good visually. It's a good look at the sets are really good. Elle Macpherson, who played his Bruce Wayne's girlfriend.
Oh yeah, forgot she was in it.
She just wanted a cap or something, but then George Clooney said he wanted Elle Macpherson. Clooney.
Oh, good on George C. Looney. What a maniac.
So David Duchovny from
the Red Shoe Diaries. That's what I know from Duchovny 69.
He was considered for Bruce Wayne / Batman for this, and also for Batman Begins in 2005.
What were they thinking of him for Batman Begins?
In the 90s, I get it. He was huge.
Yeah,
X-Files and stuff. I get it. He was huge. But why for Batman Begins? Anywho, I couldn't find who was number 2, right? But who do you think the third choice for Mr. Freeze was?
So you've got Arnold Schwarzenegger, want you? So the second choice was probably Stallone. Yeah. And third choice...
Who do you think the third?
Oh, Mr. Freeze, someone who's cool. Can I think of a pun name? I can't think of anything on the top of my head. Freddie Prinze Jr.
Hulk Hogan. You know what? I'd like to see that. Maybe not now, but I'd like to see that. But the worst trivia of all, and it's not. And I'll put this in because we like to have fun with this, but this is quite serious. So most of the scenes, believe it or not, with Batgirl, not Barbara, with Batgirl were cut because Alicia Silverstone, who I think was 19 when she was filming this, gained a few pounds and wardrobe had to refit her Batgirl.
I did hear that, yeah.
So when the press got a hold of this, the press did what the press loves to do and mocked her for being too fat for her costume.
Ridiculous.
And it went all over the place. I'm just glad that Twitter and thing wasn't a thing back then. Yeah. It would have been even worse. It's not a good thing either way, but at least it was pretty much only papers.
Well, yeah. Well, the thing is, it wasn't the film's fault because they refit her for the costume and filmed the scenes, didn't they? So
yeah.
I don't know. Well, it's still their fault for cutting her, but
yeah, exactly. They still went and cut, but yeah, the press just went on one. But to his credit, Schumacher jumped to her defence and proper berated the press, and and tried to think I think she was 19, 20 when she was filming it. So and everybody puts a bit of weight on everybody, but it's Hollywood. It's the press just they didn't. They didn't put because I think there was something about you didn't put any. They didn't put any press. We've got Batgirl. There's Batgirl in this one. Yeah, it was more of like, oh, Batgirl's too fat for the costume, and it's just fucking ridiculous. Like, focus on the positives, and but good on Schumacher for probably like, oh, you pricks. And he defended her performance and asked him to remember she's just a young girl.
She wasn't like you said. I'm behind you with the casting of her for that role. I'd have loved to have seen this continue because they had a good cast. You know, George Clooney was great as Bruce Wayne for me. I've always said that. I think oppositely, I reckon what they should have done was had George Clooney as Bruce Wayne and Val Kilmer as Batman, and just don't mention it.
I've always said I like Val Kilmer as Batman, but not Bruce Wayne. Same goes, and it's a bit controversial one for me. I don't like Christian Bale's Batman. I like his Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, aye.
I
It's
don't
the
like his
Batman voice I don't like with Bruce Wayne. I didn't really like Batman Begins, but it's one of those things where the sequel retroactively makes the first one better because I really liked The Dark Knight, and then I went back and watched Batman Begins. I'm like, well, as a setup to The Dark Knight, this is really good.
And again, it's controversial. I think Ben Affleck's Batman's my favourite.
I think he's brilliant. It's just a problem. There's films around him,
The films, I've only seen Batman vs Superman once. I probably need to watch it again.
Don't bother.
I've only seen Justice League once.
I've got down here like I'm sort of as a sort of summary to this, like it feels like this was more akin to the 60s Batman, and I think my dad actually really likes this film. But if you grew up with the 60s Batman, you probably will do. You know, like it's of that ilk. It's not. You know, the 60s Batman is way worse than this.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so...
But then going off that...
Sorry, no, you go.
No, carry on, because I'm going to kind of change it a bit.
All right, okay. So, well, I was also going to say, like, I'm really glad we're in the era of superhero films that we're in now.
Yeah.
You know, you've got... Because if we had to go through this to get here, then fine, Batman and Robin can exist. But DC seem to have always struggled with the fun element.
Yeah.
It's either Batman and Robin, or it's Joker. Or it's Batman Begins and The Dark Knight.
Yeah.
Like, they've tried to tread... They can't get that middle ground. Marvel have worked a way into it where they've got goofs, they've got fun, but you get Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah.
You know, you get the fun, and you get Guardians of the Galaxy, you know... And
then you get your Winter
They seem to have got that line. DC have almost done it with Harley Quinn, and I think you were saying you just watched it, the Harley Quinn Birds of Prey
think
film.
I'm the only person that likes Birds of Prey.
It's getting all right reviews. I'm not a huge fan, but
I like it.
They've almost brought that silliness together. No, but they've kind of almost hit that tone where they're trying to get that DC middle ground, didn't they?
But yeah, you're right. There is sort of there's that difficulty. It's either one or the other. It's either The Dark Knight or it's 60s Batman. It's like they can't find that middle ground.
Yeah.
But what you were saying about how your dad likes a film, but it could be to do because it's got that 60s feel. Another video that I used to watch all the time on VHS was Batman and Robin, and when I borrowed your Batman Forever, I'd watch it. You were saying before you had all the Jim Carrey ones. I knew that because I think I used to borrow them all from you.
Yeah.
But and then so I used to watch the 60s Batman VHS film, the 60s film, and every time Batman was on TV, I'd watch it, and I loved it. And this is the story I was going to go before. I don't know if this is true or not. But you'll remember, because I used to live in the same street as you.
Mm-hmm.
But for a while, when those houses were getting renovated, I lived down the other end of the town.
Yeah.
Next to the other school. And
we were rivals at one point.
Yeah. we were there. And I remember being ill, and I was quite bad with my asthma when I was younger. And I think this is what it was. I think I didn't want to, because I used to have to use the nebulizer gas machine thing.
Yeah.
And I think that's what it was. I think I just didn't want to use it. And my dad, obviously, he'd read the TV guide in the paper back in the day. You couldn't just click the button and see what's next. And he saw Batman was going to be on, I think it was on Channel 4 or something. And I'm pretty sure my dad said to me, if you take your medicine, I'll phone the TV people and get them to put Batman on for you. So obviously he knew it was coming on, and he probably wanted to watch it himself. But so I took my medicine, and my dad phoned the TV people and got Batman on for me.
What a guy!
So I remember that, but I don't know if it's one of those things where, like I said, you don't know if you've made it up or not.
Yeah,
there's a load of stuff from my childhood. I don't know.
Memory's massively fallible. So.
Yeah, so I don't know if I've made it up or not, but I'm pretty sure he did. And that's why Batman's Batman for me. And I think that's why I do have a soft spot for this, because it is like the the '60s Batman.
Yeah,
and there's no obviously the '60s Batman stuff is it's bad. It's very of its time, but it works for what it is.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with anybody liking it or this.
It's a family show. It was made for families, and it's family orientated, and
this was made for families who also enjoy a bit of like sort of sex puns and stuff like that, which my dad does. Sorry, Dad. If you don't like this film, email in.
I thought I was going to have a great bit of trivia for this, but I got it mixed up with Batman Forever because I was wanting to introduce this film, but it's not because I was wrong. I wanted to introduce it as the Oscar-winning Batman and Robin, but it's not. It wasn't nominated for any Oscars. But Batman Forever was nominated for 3 Oscars.
Was it? Was it for the things that we're giving waffle awards to this one for?
Best effects, sound effects, editing. So sound effects editing. Best sound, right. And best cinematography for Batman Forever.
Yeah, I mean, they did a lot of the models and those sort of tracking shots through cities and things like that, didn't they? I don't really remember it. The other thing I was going to mention about this one, before we move on from this one, I was going to mention that fucking telescope makes no sense.
Yeah.
Because they're building like a new telescope in an observatory held up by some sort of like weird Vitruvian man thing at the top of Gotham. And it's a telescope that points into space, but then just relays information back from satellites around the world. So there's no point in it being a telescope.
Yeah.
It may as well be just another satellite.
Yeah. And he says, just don't point it in my bedroom. Well, it's fine because it doesn't need to.
It doesn't need to. We can point it at anyone's bedroom. They relay sunlight from the Congo at the end. The only point in it being a telescope is so they can use it as a laser ray to thaw the city afterwards. I still think it looks cool though. That looks like comic book panels and stuff again.
But yeah, there is a lot of positives to come out of this, more so than I think than the other ones that we've done so far.
I still prefer Speed 2.
You know what? It probably is technically a better film.
Maybe if we called this Batman and Robin Cruise Control, then
yeah, maybe it would. But I think a lot of it does. Like I said, it is shit. Like, there's no two ways about it. It's not a good film, but I'll always have a soft spot for it.
I really thought you were going to be, dying on the hill of Batman and Robin, and I was going to
defending
it. Yeah, and I was going to be just fighting you back like the Battle of Yorktown. I don't even know what that battle was about. I'm just trying to get a Hamilton reference into every section of this.
Callback. Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, well, Batman and Robin, you've probably seen it. You probably either, like a lot of people, hate it or have a soft spot. But let's hope the next one with Batman,
Robert Bat, yeah.
Bat, yeah. It looks good. I like the look of it so far, and he's a cracking actor.
I think it looks like The Crow. I'm really excited by it because I like. We were just saying beforehand, I like the Planet of the Apes trilogy and things, and it's him that's directed it, isn't it? But Matt Reeves.
Yeah.
But I think he looks a bit too emo for my liking. But I like Robert Bat. I like Matt Reeves. Yeah. It sounds interesting.
The cast looks
looks really good. We've got a penguin as well, haven't we, in this one?
Yeah. Robin. No, Riddler.
Oh, Riddler, yeah. Because it's going to be, I think, the idea is it might be based on the Long Halloween, which I'm still trying to pick up cheap enough for me, because I don't like paying full price for comics. It's a lot of money. I'm still trying to pick it up cheap enough. I'd also like to see Batman Hush, but that's a completely different story. Anywho, next section. Get your tips out for the pod. Right, now we're into the Get Your Tips Out section. The problem we've got here is I've got the trade-off written on my show notes. For long-time listeners of the podcast, what's happened is we are merging the trade-off and the Get Your Tips Out section, keeping the better idea and the better title. So we're now going to call this Get Your Tips Out, but me and Sean are going to give each other tips that we need to then follow up and review in the following one. So what we've got for you this time is we've got our reviews of what we had in last episode, which was Vader Down and Hadestown. Sean had a comic book to read, and I had 2 hours of a musical and a concept album and whatever else I wanted to get
You didn't have to do the concept album, but it was there was a comparison.
I did it all. And I suppose I'll just lead in from that. I'll get into mine because Thank you, Sean, because this was great fun. This was really good. You've made up for that away, and for me giving you lucky chops and that. Because I really enjoyed this one. It was. I mean, you know me, not a fan of musicals, apart from Hamilton and Les Mis. The thing I don't like about musicals is the whole, this is who I am and this is what I'm doing. Yeah. And this is, I don't like that. If I'm listening to music, I can interpret the music however I want to. Even if it's got words to it, there's still some level of interpretation. But with a musical, it's a bit verbatim sort of thing. But with this one, I thought was quite useful because I found the story really easy to follow. Just listening to it made me think I'd like to go and see what visual elements would add to that on the stage. I really liked that opening lick in The Road to Hell. Know that, because halfway through this last week, I sent you a video of me just messing around with it, because I just, for about 2-3 hours, I just thought, I like it that much, I'm just going to play it for a bit and just mess around with it. And that's what the trombone player does in this. It starts off with the basics and then he just messes around with the same lick. It's really good fun. I loved it. I didn't know whether it was easy enough to follow because it's such a familiar story. When you mentioned the story, I was like, yes, I'm aware of that. And when I listened to this, stuff started coming back to me about Orpheus and you can't look back. And I was like, I remember all this from, I think, school, but maybe it's because I've read it somewhere else. The difference between the concept album and the actual play, you can hear the evolution. I'll listen to them backwards, obviously. I'll listen to the play first and then the concept album. But you can hear how things have evolved into the stage play. I think I prefer the concept album. A lot of it will depend on your particular touch points and touchstones for the music as well. Because when I listen to the concept album, I think I prefer the orchestration of it. And, the beginning songs, the opening sort of reminded me of like Elliot Skinner music. You've also got, the stage one had like, the trombone playing was very reminiscent for me of like, I don't know if you know Troy Andrews, Trombone Shorty. Again, it's another one I'd recommend people sort of check out if you're into that New Orleans style. And the last thing I'm going to say before you speak a little bit is you were absolutely right about that guy's voice. I got bits of touchstone for me was Leonard Cohen, but it's just deep and rich and gravelly and seductive as well. And I can see why he won awards, because I'd give him anything. If he he was in my ears for a good 7 or 8 hours over the last couple of weeks. I even had it on before I phoned you there today, just listening to bits of it. I absolutely loved it.
I thought you would, because I know obviously you said in the past that you're not a big fan of musicals. There's only a couple, but I was trying to think of like a lot of, because I like any sort of style of music really. But a lot of my music listening comes from sort of musicals, but I like the sort of odd one out musicals. There's some traditional musicals and musical sounding things that I like, but I thought you'd appreciate this because it's not like your typical musical sound. And there is some bits. I think one of the most like musical-ish kind of songs in there that is probably my favourite is "Wait for Me." Yeah. It's probably a most typical kind of musical kind of sound.
Wait for me, I'm coming.
But it's so good.
I can't sing, as you can tell.
but it's probably my favourite song in there. But I do like sort of your not traditional sort of musical things, and I thought this one was the one you'd probably like the most out of the ones that I could think of.
I actually liked listening to it. On the. Like actually listening to it rather than seeing the stage play as well, because when you listen to stuff, a lot of it goes on in your head. So I think I don't like being led through stuff that much. So there was like Our Lady of the Underground, that one where Persephone, and in my mind that was the Dusk Till Dawn bar with Selma Hayek in it. It's like a cross between that and I don't know if you've seen Westworld, Maeve, sort of like the matron of the saloon. I sort of had that in my head. I probably had Dusk Till Dawn in my head because I just watched Batman and Robin. And it's George Clooney, but there was just loads of those things going on. That the little songbird song again was like, hey,
with his voice.
Oh, chills, man, absolute chills. And there's a love song, and I can't remember the name of it now. I think I may still have it open on my phone, but the love song between Orpheus. When they're looking to go away, sort of thing. There's like a really sort of, it's a key pivotal moment. And I can't remember what the song's called, but yeah, a lot of it's really beautiful. But you were going to say something else, sorry.
But yeah, because I thought the music itself was what you'd probably appreciate. because I knew a lot of the instruments they use is obviously ones you play. So it's like, it's. But yeah, it's one that's kind of grew on me because I think it's last week I didn't like it. I liked it, but it wasn't sort of anything special when I first listened to it. But it's I think it's because it's different. It stands out a lot to me. It's nice music. It's good music.
And like I said, if you're into that style of music, like if you're listening along with us or playing along with us in these tips, and you like the sound of this, there's loads of ways you can go with a New Orleans style of music, because it's sometimes it's a bit gospely, sometimes it's really jazzy. It's a wide, broad range. It's just basically, New Orleans is a melting pot of amazing music, and this because I want to find out what else Anais Mitchell's done from this. Because songwriting wise, these are absolutely beautiful songs put together as a concept album. There was also a really weird thing that I found as well, like this week. Again, maybe feeding into how easy I found the story to follow. Like when you'd given me this to listen to, I listened to it the following day and I thought, that's really good, I like it. Then I was watching an episode of Parks and Rec later on in the week where Persephone was in it. It's the one where, I don't know if you watch Parks and Rec.
I've never watched it.
All right. Well, there's one where there's a character painted and it's an illustration of Persephone. And then one of our mutual relatives had a child, and I Googled the name of that child, and the first result that came up was Persephone. And it was just bonkers, and I was like, what's going on here? Now, I've never been a massive fan of philosophical determinism, but I'm starting to think I don't have a choice in the matter.
You can believe what you want, but when it happens 2 or 3 times in a week, then
It's just like, this is all just, it's one of those stories where it's happened all the time. It's come back again and again. This is basically, this is your Romeo and Juliet. This is every forbidden love story. It's probably the root of all that,
There was actually another, and I think it might have came out the same year. There was another musical based on the Orpheus story, and it premiered. It was in London a few years ago, and it was directed by previous Strictly Come Dancing judge Arlene Phillips. It was called 27, and I think it was like subtitled "Fall of a Rising Star." And they took the Orpheus story, but put it into the 27 myth of rock stars dying age 27. So instead of like New Orleans sort of Americana kind of music, it was rock, and there are some cracking songs in that as well.
Right.
But then it was rebranded as a musical just called Myth, which I think is quite a cool actual name for it. But so there is kind of that thing going on at the minute where a lot, like, because around about the same time as that was happening, it was 27 at the time. Hadestown was tearing up the National Theatre. And 27/Myth didn't get a full West End run. It got like an outside of West End, smaller regional sort of theatre run, and that was it. And nothing's been done of it since. You can find some of the songs for that on YouTube. There is a song I cannot remember for the life of me what it's called. It's an amazing song, but yes, so it's a story where you can tap into many different ways, like and stuff like you said, and it is sort of that recognisable sort of everlasting story, love and do what you can for love. But you think with all sort of Greek myths and legends and stuff like that, for modern audiences it's sort of hard to get people into those sort of stories and storytelling. They actually use a Greek sort of theatre method in Hamilton. Right. Sometimes when the ensemble tell you what year it is.
Oh yeah, 1776.
Yeah. It's very Greek chorus, sort of like narrate the story.
All right.
And and obviously the character of Hermes in Hadestown does narrate it on his own. He does the chorus kind of. And the Fates characters, they're kind of like a chorus. But yeah, I thought you'd appreciate it. I thought you'd like it.
I did, yeah. Really good. And we've bookended this with musical things. Me saying that I don't really like musicals.
Yeah.
I think the thing I find about like stage musicals different is it is more natural. It's more organic, whereas like your film musicals are more staged. All the decisions acting wise are made well in advance because you've got to record the songs first and things like that. Unless you do what is it Tom Hooper does with Les Mis and Cats and stuff where they record live.
Yeah.
Nonsense, but all good, really good for me to this one. So thank you very much. Vader Down.
Yes, I need to get the rest of them. I do. I liked it. There isn't, obviously it's the first part of, like you said, like a many stories.
Yeah.
Obviously, a longer story. So it was less happened than I thought, but I really enjoyed it. I do need to get the rest. But then I'm thinking, because some of them turn up in like midway through another run, it's like, am I going to have to get the entirety of the other run? And I'm just going to have a massive pile of Star Wars comics in a minute. But like, is it? Am I right in thinking, is it between New Hope and Empire?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, because he's trying to hunt down Luke. He knows. Yeah.
But I did like it, and I wanted to read it a few times. I think I've only read it twice. I wanted to read it a few more times to get the gist of it, but I didn't have the time. But you were proper spot on with the artwork.
Oh yeah.
Like I got distracted by the artwork.
That's the thing that does it for me.
I do, and I don't know if they give you their names. I know you can. The evil C-3PO and R2-D2. Yeah. I don't know if you get the evil C-3PO's name. The little ones referred to as BT.
Yeah.
But I just love how vicious they are. And it's like, how splendid did you hear that, BT? Would get to torture and exterminate indiscriminately.
Well, there was the thing, if you like that, I really like that as well. And there's an issue where they go on the hunt for, I think it's Luke in one of the issues in that run. Right. So, yeah.
And I love how, like, obviously C-3PO is always like, oh, I've got a bad feeling. And then evil C-3PO is like, oh, I have simply delightful feeling about this mission. I love it. I love how evil they are. And I want to know, because I know, like, Dr. Aphra's got her own comic, hasn't she?
Yeah, Dr. Yeah.
I want to, who is this? I want to know who she is. I want to know what her game is.
Because when I hadn't read it in the run up to giving it you as a trade off, and then I read it like the day after. I'm like, oh yeah, Dr. Aphra's in this one straight up, and she gets a lot of play. She's like the main thing. That's where Vader's getting his information from and trusting her. And then he thinks he's like betrayed him and got into an ambush.
And I do like, obviously it's Star Wars, it's recognisable. But Luke doesn't really look like Luke in this, I don't think.
No.
But Han and Leia do. I don't know if you, obviously the moved the story and they had story points had to get across, but the Han and Leia stuff just seemed to be like,
it's just thrown in so that you know that they're part of it. I think, don't they?
Yeah. I mean, obviously there is bits. Obviously they're moving the story and it doesn't make sense, but it didn't have to be there. And obviously I'm not a big comic reader these days. I want to read more. And I've got a couple. I've got like a Batman one there somewhere, and I do own some. And I get why, because comic book sales don't really exist these days. So you've got to have your adverts and your selling pages in there. But every second bloody page is an advert. It's just like, I get it. You need to make money, so people are buying advertising space in your comic books. That's fine. But it's just annoying when it's like, yeah, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s on TV, yeah. Right, cool. Anyway, where was I?
You might like Comixology for that then, because Comixology takes you through as a reader and you can look at pages on your way in and way out, and there are no adverts in those. So you can get like Vader Down volume of Vader Down Volume 1 and things, and get the whole lot there, and it's cheaper. I still like holding a comic book.
Yeah, because obviously we'll get into mine at the minute. I've mentioned in the past, like, when it comes to novels, I prefer audiobooks because I'm a slow reader, so it's just better for me that way. But yeah, I do. But the audiobooks I do own them as well. It's physical books. But yeah, it does feel something about just holding it. It just makes it more real. But yeah, and you were spot on about how this Darth Vader is Rogue One Darth Vader. He does what he does in that, but to a fleet of
the thing I like about that is you get like him killing all of those, but one thing you never see in Star Wars is the destruction and death which you get in. Yep, that's the one that I didn't want to show you last week when I was showing you splash pages. I'm like, no, you need to see that for the first time when you turn the page, don't you?
But one thing I'll say about that page though, it's like, yeah, it's like, it's eye catching, it's shocking in a way because you never see it in the films. But I was just like, but there wouldn't be full bodies. I was just trying to be realistic about it. There wouldn't be enough of them there. But yeah, it was. But I like how I can't remember what colour squadron it was. Was it red? Was it blue? Yellow? I don't know which one it was. But so he takes out one complete colour.
I've actually found that with the Star Wars ones, like you were saying, Luke doesn't really look like Luke in it. And I finished reading that Poe Dameron one that I was telling you about. And Poe Dameron doesn't really look like Poe. He doesn't even look consistent throughout the run. So I know like different artists come in for different issues and things, but there are bits where it's just like, you've just got a bloke's face there. You know, they definitely put more effort into some issues or some runs in Star Wars than they do others.
I might be making this up completely, but wasn't there a point when there was some sort of thing with Oscar Isaacs where there was it might have been a rumor, probably was a rumor, where
it is
there was
now.
a bit of like tension. Would yeah, now it is. Would he be back for the Rise of Skywalker or something like that? There was, I remember hearing it probably wasn't a rumor, but I remember there was a bit of tension with him or something, and I don't know what it was. So maybe they were writing that when that tension was going on. So don't put the likeness like Oscar Isaac.
Just
make him a generic guy.
Face, just a face. Any face will do. Well, it would be because, but it did make me want to buy more Poe Dameron or Black Squadron. You know, just because that's a thing that you don't really see that much in the Star Wars films, or you know, in the other sort of canon stuff, is the actual function of a squadron going on a mission and doing what they do, sort of thing. So I found that interesting. But sorry, back to you.
No, I was agreeing with you, and I did like obviously there's obviously in the films. I'm guessing I'm trying to put the timeline right here, but obviously after this, obviously then Luke goes and does his training and stuff like that with Yoda, and obviously finds out that it's his daddy. But there is a thing about how like Luke all of a sudden becomes like this master Jedi, but obviously there's a lot of time passes between the films, and I do like how this kind of fills in because he is shown that bit of like bravery in this, and like Vader's just wiped out the entire that one color of a squadron, but he's on his own. Like there's a line in it I pointed out before to myself.
Is it the one where Vader's standing there and he says, "Oh, you've got you surrounded," and he's all I'm surrounded by is something. Is it that one?
I think so. I think that's what I think. But there's another bit of cheers. There's another one that was like, "Oh, it's Vader," and then the other guy's like, Darth Vader, blah blah. And do you have visual confirmation? Oh, I don't need it. It's him. And then he holds his ground, and he's like, so he knows who it is. He knows how dangerous Vader is, but he's getting that sort of bravery. He's getting that sort of. Oh yeah, he's becoming that. It's showing you a little bit of him becoming
right.
Who he does become.
Luke, yeah, aye. He's coming to stand up. He's like, I know who he is. I'm going to take him on. Like,
yeah. And he might be a foolish idiot, but it's showing you, because I think in the films there isn't much of a progression. Like you see him train a little bit, and then all of a sudden in Return of the Jedi, he's this boss badass guy. There's sort of like, obviously there's time between the films, but there's as fans you don't get to see it.
No, I think you see it's not between Empire and Jedi. I think it's between A New Hope and Empire. This one,
but within the films or in Empire, he does his training, and then in Jedi he's a badass.
Yeah,
it's sort of like. There's no build up, but in this comic here, in this little bit, it's showing you that little bit of he's getting that little bit of bravery. He's getting
like a bit of a
he's
stepping
developing
point.
a little bit, yeah. Mm-hmm. So it's showing you a little bit of the in betweeners of the films, essentially. So I like that how it's showing you a little bit of his character coming through there.
Cool.
But no, I want to keep reading it. So I'm probably going to have to subscribe to that Comixology.
It's a useful one to have. I tried to see if you could get Unlimited, but Unlimited's only available in America just now. So,
and again, to drop my second one, there's a lot of Doctor Who comics on Comixology.
All right, get into that.
Maybe that might be your way into Doctor Who.
Maybe there's got to be a way in for me. There's got to be a way. I think that comics are really good for stuff like that because it's just short. Really, if when done well, they're short, concise versions of stories. You know, it's like a storyboard. Really good to get into. I bought a load of more this week. I say bought. I downloaded a load of the first issues free, and I'm still waiting for my for another one to come. Oblivion Song, which I got the first issue for Christmas.
It sounds cool.
It's really cool. It's Robert Kirkman, the guy who did a lot of Walking Dead, and it's basically a post-apocalyptic world, but like interdimensional travel. Everyone who's surviving is stuck in another dimension with giant monsters, and there is a guy basically who transfers back there to bring back survivors, and that's the setup. Basically, wouldn't want to ruin it for you in case you try it, but yeah. But again, Comixology, you get the first issue of that for free, so you'd be able. You know, there's a lot of ones where you can just tap in and say, right, read that first issue. Nope, not for me. Read that first issue. Yes, there's a bit of me. So,
but that's a great sales technique. You know, give them the first one free. If they want to know what happens, full price for the next one. It's like, do you remember when you were young, you used to go like the the paper shop or like the smaller shops, and you get this like it's like build your own car or build this, build that. The first issue would be like 99p, and you'd get like a wheel, but then you'd have to buy like the next issue for like 9.99 to build the rest of the car. It's kind of like
the Batmobile, like a build your own Batmobile. So yeah, I remember them. Cool. Oh well, that's sort of well, not a resounding lucky chops again, but not a bad one.
No, it's. I think it's because obviously there's not a lot in it because it's only the first bit, but I definitely want to know what happens and carry on with it, and I do. It's like you said, it was very concise. It was like
it's just a taste, isn't it?
Yeah, it's intriguing, and it's just the start of a story, and it's a nice sort of it's like a nice first chapter. But not a lot happened, but not a lot has to happen.
That is one of the problems I have with comics as well. Is if you buy single issues, you never get a full story arc, and then collecting single issues can be an issue. You know, when you try to get physical copies, so I like to just buy collected issues or volumes and things, and you've got the full story there, and that's at least a book.
Exactly, and at least with this one, both of these ones were positive reviews from both of us.
Yeah, exactly. And listeners, if any of the listeners have tried this along with us, then let us know what you thought. You know, post on Facebook, send us a message. You know, we'll maybe sort of send us a review if you like, of anything. If you think we've missed something along the way, or if you think we're talking shite, tell us. Yeah. Well, we are talking shite, but if you've got a different opinion, then yeah, absolutely, let us know. So, what do you have for me, or what do I have for you this week? Who do you want to go first?
Well, you give your review first, so
okay,
crack on first.
Right. Now, I've got two. I think I mentioned this up top before we started recording. I've got one and a backup one, just in case you've seen one or t'other. So,
right.
So, to tie in with the Batman theme this week, I don't know how much you've gone into things like this, but a couple of years ago there was a film came out that I was really interested in because it just looked so different, and it was actually so intrigued was I that me and again my dad, who loves Batman, he cosplays as Batman when we go to Comic Cons and stuff, you know, brilliant, bought this and took it up to his, few beers, and sat around and watched it. Batman Ninja.
That's not what I thought you were going, but no, I haven't.
You haven't?
I don't know that.
Well, the good news for you now is it's on Netflix. The bad news is I'm not entirely sure what version is on Netflix, because there was some debate. I was like, I'll have a little read up to see if there's anything I don't know about this. And apparently there are basically the American remake. Well, not the American remake, but the American version of it. They admitted that they completely rewrote the script, so it doesn't really. It makes less sense than it should, apparently, and it's bonkers anyway. So yeah, Batman Ninja. It's now on Netflix, so give it a bash. It's only an hour and a half. It's a full length feature film, but it's sort of a combination where, you know, Warner Brothers Animation is really good for DC. Warner Brothers DC Animation, they do really well out of it. You know, I always think Marvel's great at films, DC's better at TV and animation. I think DC have just got the upper hand on it.
I've watched a lot of the animated Batman stuff, and I really like it. It's really
Have you seen Gotham Knight as well? Gotham Knight's quite a good one. I wasn't a fan of Gotham by Gaslight. Yeah. There's a new one out as well. So, did you think I was going to go Soul of the Dragon and make you spend £8 in Asda?
No, I thought you were going to go. You know about like buying, like watching it and stuff. It was that document because I watched it with you and your dad. It was like a documentary about real life superheroes. Oh
yes, it's just called Superheroes, I think it was, wasn't it? Yeah.
I thought that's what you were
going. I know you've seen it. I think we watched that, and what was it? What We Do in the Shadows or something? I think we watched it the same day, wasn't it? Yeah. That was a good day. But no, I know you've seen that, so definitely not that. So Batman Ninja.
I've got it. I've added it to me list on Netflix.
Cool. Yeah. But the animation style is really cool because they do this. It's a Japanese art house that do it. Some of the cast are Japanese. Some of the artists are American and stuff. But it's fucking bonkers. Like,
I'm just looking at the trailer silently, and it does look mental.
It is mental. Like, the premise is he gets transported to I think it's water. Yes, it's the Joker. The style's amazing. I mean, it was at a time where I was looking at like samurai Batman figures to buy for my dad for Christmas as well, and you know, you get like sort of there's loads of really good sort of Japanese figures. We sometimes listen to that Robert Meyer Burnett guy who's on the YouTube and he collects all the hot toys and stuff and all the different variants. And you can, looking at that trailer, you can imagine the different variants of figures you would get out from that. So whether or not you actually like the story, it's only an hour and a half. I think it's definitely better than Batman and Robin, but the artwork's worth watching it just for the animation. We shall see next time what you think of that. Batman Ninja. Definitely. And the second backup one that I had, just in case you'd already watched it, will have to be saved for another time, and I shall remain stum on that.
I thought you were going to say there, I was thinking, well, just wait till next time. But
I've got a list now.
Well, just looking at that silent trailer, that it looked, I'm in. So it looked mental.
So what's yours? What am I doing?
Well, just to a peek behind the curtain again, I didn't tell Billy what it was, but I had to check with Billy. So I was like, I've got a book for you. It's an audio book technically, but it's a very short one. It's only, I think, 3.5 hours, 4 hours. It's only 185 pages anyway, the book, so it's not very long. And last week we were talking about books, and I mentioned the Forrest Gump book, and Billy Joel, you can give me a book next time. So I thought, I'm going to give you a book.
Oh, I need a little shut up.
You don't have to buy it, because I've got an app and I've got it already. I'll give you my details and you can just listen to it. By my favourite author, but he's technically a children's author. But this book is more aimed at sort of young adults. And it's the guy who wrote Warhorse, Michael Morpurgo. It's called Private Peaceful.
Oh.
And it's basically, very quickly, I'll read out the blurb. So as young Thomas Peaceful looks back over his childhood from the battlefields of World War I, his memories are full of family life deep in the countryside. But the clock is ticking, and every moment Tomo spends remembering how things used to be, another moment closer to something that will change his life forever. So it's told in obviously flashback. Warhorse is the one that Michael Morpurgo is known for. He does a lot of war books. He does a lot of animals-based books. And this one is probably his most grown up. And there's a film of it as well. It stars, I cannot remember the guy's name, but one of the guys in 1917.
Okay, yeah. George Mackay.
And yes, that's the fella. And again, I forgot this guy's name as well. He's in Unbreakable, and he was in Skins. What is his name? Anyway, there's a
George Mackay. I can't do the second one. Sorry.
Yeah, it's fine. I'll figure it out. I'll look as I go. But yeah, so it's for a children's book. It is grown up. It's a very sort of grown up story. I'm not going to tell you kind of it because it's based on the writer found out something about what happened in World War I in real life, and he took that as the premise, but I can't tell you because it gives you away the ending. Not just because of this book, but the writer himself and other people. And there's a movement out there to get something changed as a result of him writing this book, where people from World War One weren't being remembered for what they've done. And again, I can't really tell you what it is because it'll give it away. But basically, their names were wiped from the records, basically. But this movement, because of this, not just because of this book, but this sort of helped in the process. It basically got that scrapped, so those people are starting to be remembered. And he does it a lot as well. The writer, he's Sir Michael Morpurgo now, and rightfully so, because I've read most of his books. He's got about 500 of them. His writings, it's aimed at children, but he doesn't pander to the children. There's some books that are only like 5 pages long. And he's got his own version of The Wizard of Oz, but told from the point of view of Toto. It's just called Toto. And I think he's done one for Pinocchio as well, and he's done some retellings. The Snowman, he's done a retelling of The Snowman, which I bought this Christmas. I've not read it yet. But he's my favourite author, and obviously, again, not to make it about me, but I've tried to write. And I think my writing style is inspired by him a lot. Because he'll often
certainly read something of yours that's a lot in flashback like this and round about
a
certain wartime.
It's a different war. Mine's World War II. This is World War I. But yeah, it's this. Listening to this made me cry. I'll tell you that much. And it's an emotional one, but it's his most, probably his second most known. He won a lot of awards for it. Just a quick little review on the back here. A deeply moving portrayal of camaraderie and courage, innocence and brutality. You've got innocence and brutality in the same sentence in the same review. And full of warmth as well as grief, conveying vividly how precious it is to be alive. And there's a quote on the back from the book as well. I think it is anyway. They're gone now, and I'm alone at last. I have the whole night ahead of me, and I won't waste a single moment of it. I want tonight to be long as my life. So.
Oh, I thought you were going to say penis.
I wish I did for a joke. That'd be fun. But yeah, in the actual edition I've got, you obviously no one else will be able to see this, but this is a special edition of the 100th anniversary of the Battle of the Somme.
Okay.
And there's lots of poppies and stuff on the front cover. It's a beautiful story, and this is one of the rare times I read the book before watching the film, and the book is better. But the film's just as good as well. You'll recognise a lot of the cast in the film.
And the film's out, did you say, already?
No, it's out, yeah, it came out a few years ago. There's actually a fan film about it as well.
Maybe just cheat and watch the film and not bother listening.
So there's George Mackay, Jack O'Connell, that's the fella.
All right,
Jack O'Connell. Ralph Fiennes' son, he's in it. Hero Fiennes.
He's fine.
Francis de la Tour, Richard Griffiths, Harry Potter's uncle.
Yeah.
Maxine Peake's in it.
Casting.
Yeah, it's a decent cast. There's another couple of British folk that you'll recognise pop up and stuff like that. And so yeah, it's a brilliant story. It's probably my favourite Michael Morpurgo, and I've read or / listened to maybe 30 of his stories. There's quite a lot. You'll probably realise, actually no, because I've ticked them off, but on my script it was just Michael Morpurgo books. But if you do like this and you decide to get into more of them, obviously War Horse is there. Another one I can recommend is Listen to the Moon. Yeah, there's lots, but Private Peaceful, give it a listen. Like I said, it's a very, you'll see yourself, it's a very small book. It's like
but still a book though. I'm going to get you reading the Silmarillion or something next time. I'm going to have to get you back for this. I have said privately though that like to you that this is my favourite part of the show. Yeah. Like so far, we've been sort of chucking things back and forward at each other for years now, but we've never done it in a formal way where we have to like come back and review it, and I think this is the most fun I have.
Yeah, definitely. There's all, because obviously there's a little bit of like, not danger, but it's like you don't know what the other one's going to suggest, and it's kind of like, what will I be doing this week? But yeah, I mean, it's a very short story. Well, it's not a short story, but you know what I mean. It's a very quick one. 4 hours and 23 minutes, so over 2 weeks.
That's like listening to one of our podcasts. That's fine. Exactly. No problem. I'll be all right. While you're editing this, I'll be listening to that. Again, it's not like it's the thing I find interesting about this is it's not something that I would pick up generally. It's not something. It's not a story that I would gravitate to, and I probably wouldn't think I've got the time to read it. So I probably wouldn't look at an audiobook for it either. So yeah, looking forward to trying something a bit new. Is that the show?
Aye.
We're done?
I think we are, after 5 hours.
3.5 hours. Here we go. Hey!
I honestly thought we were quicker this week.
No. Absolutely not. I'm starting to feel my eyes going now.
I'm feeling my voice going. I speak for a living. So
thanks for listening, and thanks for speaking to me, Sean, and thanks for listening, listeners. If you want to get in touch with us, if you want to engage with us in any way, you can email us at w.a.f.f.l.e.podd@gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook at Whitty Analysis, our feature films and light entertainment. You can find us on Twitter at Waffle Podcast 1, and now we're on YouTube and Waffle Podcast. Everything will be linked in the description below, as well as all of our timestamps, so you can dance around and avoid spoilers and all that sort of stuff. Goodbye from me, and as we always say on this, Bruce, it's me, Barbara. Goodbye.